trust in the Weather Channel.
Well, very concerned. We don't do this kind of preparation. You're looking at storm shutters on top of hurricane-rated glass.
And the new headline out of the National Hurricane Center's advisory: major hurricane force winds expected over the Florida Keys at daybreak, and getting worse throughout the day tomorrow. So we are having our continuing coverage right here nonstop on the Weather Channel. Let's go right back into the studio with Dr. Erica Navarro to talk about this new advisory that just came in. So that, plus the fact, Dr. Navarro, that Irma is still lingering over the northern coast of Cuba. Talk about what you think that means in terms of strengthening.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jen. You can see there the strong language that's coming out of the National Hurricane Center, because unfortunately it looks like the Florida Keys are going to be seeing the worst of Hurricane Irma as it makes its way up to the north and to the west here of the Florida Peninsula. As Jen was just saying, we've seen this storm battering down on Cuba, and we saw earlier today a 159-mile-per-hour wind gust off the north coast of Cuba. So this storm is still very strong and very intense. Even at Category 3 intensity, this is a major hurricane here that we are talking about. No major changes with this latest advisory from the Hurricane Center. Winds still sustained at 125 miles per hour, and moving off to the west at 9 is anticipated to slow down a little bit as it starts to make this turn towards the northwest and eventually off to the north. That slow turning may give it some time to really tap into the warm ocean temperatures that are present in the Straits of Florida, which may contribute to some additional strengthening. So we are by no means done with this storm at all. The threats here are imminent in Florida in the next 24 hours, and we'll be watching to see just how much this storm might be able to come up in intensity over the coming days. Here's what we're looking at right now. We're seeing tropical storm force wind gusts here into the Key West area already, but that storm is still making its way along the northern coast of Cuba, and it will be exiting that area very shortly, likely in the afternoon into the evening hours today. But if we take a look at the wind field with this one, remember, many of my colleagues and I have been talking about how big this storm is. Take a look at how wide that yellow circle goes. That's the area of tropical storm force winds, and mind you, in a narrow area within that, we could still be seeing gusts into the hurricane force wind range. So it's not just the sustained winds that we're talking about here. You could be seeing gusts higher than that. This will absolutely contribute to widespread power outages over many of the areas here along the coast of Florida and even up into Georgia and the Carolinas. Looking at where those wind fields are going to go, again, we are anticipating the worst of the storm to be along the western side of the state of Florida. Hurricane force winds likely into the Naples and Fort Myers area, with life-threatening storm surge being a potential there, as well as up into the Tampa Bay area where the storm surge threat is very large as well. With the look at the latest warnings, we have a hurricane warning up nearly for the entire state of Florida. This is not including the central and very western part of the Florida Panhandle where you are under a hurricane watch, but those watches also extends up into Georgia, because these folks here are also preparing for Hurricane Irma to come that way Monday and eventually off into Tuesday. So in an area like Naples, here's what you can be expecting. Sunday night, we're looking for the winds to be in excess of 100 miles per hour. So very strong winds moving in on Sunday and then starting to kick up there on Sunday night. We're expecting about 8 to 12 inches of rainfall, so potentially a foot of rain coming with Irma as it makes its way up the coast. And of course, as we've been saying, that storm surge threat is very real, catastrophic, and life-threatening, with a forecast of up to 15 feet potentially in the Naples area. In a place like Miami, again, the track has really been in your favor because things have been moving off to the west, but you can still be anticipating impacts from Hurricane Irma. So please don't let your guard down in this area. Still a lot of rain to come, which will absolutely be enough to cause some flash flooding in that area. We've already seen some flooding this year in the Miami area. Storm surge potential of up to 6 feet in this area still, and likely be seeing some stronger winds moving in again tomorrow. That is on Sunday. So now if we go a little bit further up the coast to the northeastern side of Florida, in a place like Orlando, we could be expecting the tropical storm force winds to move in sometime tomorrow morning, and we could be seeing higher gusts than that later later into the evening tomorrow and then Monday morning as well, as that center of circulation comes up the coast. And the rainfall here likely going to be the biggest threat, with up to a foot of rain possible in the Orlando area and surrounding regions, as well as Hurricane Irma makes its way up the coast. So there are many threats here that we need to be on the lookout for. We have tropical storm watches here for southern and southeastern Georgia, as well as Savannah, the Hilton Head areas along the coastal areas in South Carolina, and tropical storm watches beyond that, as folks here are anticipating the effect of Irma to come that way later this week. We're going to have much more continuing coverage coming up.
A storm surge of 5 to 10 feet could wipe out our low-lying areas.
Well, very concerned.
The Weather Channel started talking about this storm far enough out. They heeded our warning.
And welcome back to continued coverage on the Weather Channel of Hurricane Irma. I'm meteorologist Reynolds Wolf. I am coming to you from Jacksonville right now along the banks of the St. Johns River. I'd like to welcome all of our viewers that are tuning in on the Weather Channel, and of course, there are many viewers that are tuning in on Local Now. What a story that we have to tell. Right now, we've had some scattered showers that have been running through this area. They've been off and on, but we expect the showers to increase, the wind also to pick up, and at the same time, we're keeping a very, very sharp eye on what's happening well to our south. I can tell you where we happen to be, we have a hurricane warning that is in effect for the city of Jacksonville. At the same time, we also have a flood watch. The flooding is a very real danger. Anywhere from, say, 8 to maybe up to 14 inches of rainfall can be expected in this area, so it does appear that that could be a sure bet. It's all about preparation right now. You take a look, and we got the watches and the warnings for you. They're decorated across the map. Many people certainly heeding those warnings and hightailing it to the north. When you think about just the topography of Florida itself, it is a peninsula. You can't go east, you can't go west. Really, the safest bet is to go north, just to get out and take the interstates and, again, just try to get to a safe location. But for those who are staying back, certainly that's kind of a rough thing to do, because you're putting not only your lives in danger, but also the lives of first responders. Also in danger. I can tell you that here in the city of Jacksonville, they've taken a lot of measures in the city. The mayor has been keeping a sharp eye on things, certainly going around and looking at some of the shelters that we have in place. I can tell you that in terms of the animal shelters, they certainly are trying to move whatever animals they can out of here to create a bit of a area, some space to bring in additional animals that they know are going to make their way into this part of the world. Take a look at this part of the world over here. Some things are a little bit different. We've got the Main Street Bridge, but then across the Main Street Bridge, right on the other far shore, we see something that's a little bit unusual, and that is the shrimp boats. They have been seeking shelter, safe harbor, right here along the banks of the river. You'll also notice the one in blue. What a name. Perseverance. Is that fitting? Well, perseverance is one thing we're going to have to deal with all across the state, including Miami. We're showing you now some video of the beginning onslaught, the early south. Of what this storm is going to bring, no doubt. And as it leaves Cuba and makes its way through the Keys, and then eventually makes its way up through the state, or making their way to staging areas, knowing that they've got a very tall job ahead of them. No doubt. It's quite a mess that we're seeing, and we're going to see more of a mess, obviously, over the next several days. Dr. Erica Navarro, let's send it back to you for the very latest on this system.
Yeah, thanks so much, Reynolds. We're keeping a close eye on this system because the outer bands are starting to move into southern Florida. So I'm hearing the winds coming into out from where Reynolds is in Jacksonville, and the winds sound already to be fairly strong. So we're hearing and seeing those impacts really starting to pick up here all across the state as Irma begins to make its approach here into the southern part of Florida. We've got a tornado watch up for most of the area here north of Fort Myers, down the western side of the coast here, and then from the West Palm Beach area down through Fort Lauderdale and Miami, being on the lookout today for some brief spin-ups of tropical tornadoes as these strong outer bands are moving in from east to west here. These can and often do cause these brief spin-ups, which are often obscured by rain and very difficult to see. So please, in these areas, take caution and realize that that threat will continue throughout the lifetime of Hurricane Irma as it makes its way off the coast. But right now, it's still moving along the northeastern part of Cuba. We saw a wind gust out of Guayaquil Cuba here of 159 miles per hour. Absolutely ridiculous wind speeds coming out. Very strong winds likely near the core of the storm, and that will continue over the next couple of days as Irma makes its way again towards the Florida Keys. Here's a look right now at the water vapor imagery. You can see those green areas showing you just the breadth of that storm. Notice how that winds almost look to be expanding, and that is likely because it's getting some influence here of an upper level feature that's assisting that outflow at the top levels of the atmosphere. That evacuation at higher levels allows more tropical thunderstorm activity to continue near and outside of the areas of the storm. So we are likely seeing that wind field even expand as we move forward in time, which of course is not good news. Irma will remain in a favorable wind environment here for the next 24 hours, but after that, if you look off to the west side of your screen, that's an upper level trough moving in, which is going to be bringing some drier, colder air as well as wind shear. That is an unfavorable condition for hurricanes, so we are likely seeing the impacts with that system and potentially some transitioning and expanding of that storm as well. But regardless, in the meantime, these are the threats that we can be looking out for here. Almost a foot of rain along the western and southern portion of Florida, but likely 8 to 12 inches for the majority of the state, basically up the interior and in the central and northern parts of the state, nearly a foot of rain potentially here in some of these areas. Up towards the Big Bend and the western side, we are expecting 5 to 8 inches of rain, but again, that is in addition to the other threats here that we have, namely the storm surge in particular in these areas. If we look up towards the southeast, places like Georgia and South Carolina, we could be expecting about 3 to 5 inches of rain, maybe some areas up to 8 or 10 inches in isolated regions. That's enough to cause flash flooding, keep in mind. And these are going to be tropical downpours, likely with very high rain rates, so a lot of rain coming down at once. That is not a situation you want to find yourself in, especially in a car. So please be aware and be prepared and take caution if you find yourself stuck out in those areas. Taking a look at the latest model runs, again, we've all been discussing this westward shift in the track. Again, the details here are still comes on shore. Again, we cannot tell you with any certainty right now. So the best thing that you can be doing is preparing for the worst, because we will be seeing those strong winds moving into the southern and western portion of Florida sometime tomorrow evening. So looking here at what we can expect with the wind field, there's the center of Irma making its way across the Florida Keys and Key West sometime tomorrow afternoon. Maybe even earlier on in the morning. We will see those stronger winds moving into the Naples and Fort Myers area, and then by Monday, that center of circulation will be somewhere in the northern part of Florida. That's going to bring strong onshore flow here in the northeastern side of the state, as well as into the coastal areas of Georgia and South Carolina. But again, on the southern end of that circulation, remember the winds here blow counterclockwise. We are expecting to see very high storm surge values even in the Tampa area and Fort Myers and Marco Island. We are looking at life-threatening inundation in some of these areas. So Reynolds, in a place like Jacksonville, doesn't look like you're going to get the strongest winds, but the impacts there will still be felt even in northeastern Florida.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, one of the biggest impacts we could be dealing with is just this rain hammer that could be affecting much of the area. Some locations getting up to a foot of rain, maybe even more than that. So certainly got to stay vigilant, no question. Let's go and bring in now, if we can, Lee Mayfield. He's with the Office of Emergency Management from Lee County. Lee, are you with us, sir?
I am.
Well, Lee, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I know that you're incredibly busy right now trying to keep people in your area safe. If you can, how are things going in terms of preparation in Lee County?
Well, we're continuing with our EOC activation today. You can't really overstate how significant this event is for Southwest Florida. A lot of evacuations underway right now, multiple shelter openings happening really as quickly as we can get them open. The storm surge threat here is so high right now, and we really need to encourage everyone to go inland, get away from those coastal areas, go to those inland shelters. We really need to get people to heed our advice on this one.
How has response been so far? Have people been heeding that advice? To the best of your knowledge, have you seen a lot of people moving towards those shelters?
Yeah, we do have a lot of numbers at the shelters right now. We think we've phased it. People have been leaving the last couple days, but, some folks, have experience here and want to stick it out, and we really need to get people to move inland.
Lee, we've got a good idea, obviously, of what's happened in the past. We know what's happening right now, but it's looking further ahead over the next several days. What plans do you have when you have this widespread power loss, when you have roads that are blocked? What steps are you taking to try to prepare for the aftermath?
Sure, we want to push that debris off the damage is going to be, and we'll get into that, recovery process. But we're still in that response mode right now, and we're trying our best to just get that message out to folks that this is not the storm to play with. This is the one that you really want to evacuate for as quickly as possible. Time's really getting short for everyone.
These are long days for the good people of Florida, no question about it, and a very long day for you as well, sir. Thank you so much for your service. We wish you the very best in the coming days. I'm sure we'll be speaking soon. We're now going to speak up our way to Tampa, and that's where we're going to find Chris Bruin. Chris, where we happen to be at this time, if you weren't following the weather, you'd think it's just a breezy day with a few scattered clouds. How are conditions right now, Chris, in Tampa?
Hey, Reynolds. Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty nice day. A little breezy, a little more than usual, but you can start to see the indication that there are clouds off in the distance, just the beginnings of what could be a worst-case scenario here in Tampa. And again, we're right in Tampa. We have Tampa Bay right behind me, and this is the mouth of the Hillsborough River. Of course, storm surge, really a big worry here in Tampa, especially with the latest update. 5 to 8 feet expected, again, above dry ground. Storm surge warning and hurricane warning. And in fact, now we have a lot of condos and a lot of residential areas just nearby. And I want to bring in several of the residents to just kind of get you an idea of what their concern is. So we have Matt and Shelly here. They're married, and you just moved here, but you lived here 30 years. What is your biggest concern, and what are you all planning on doing?
My biggest concern, I think, is being trapped. We just live right there.
And you're on the fourth floor,
We're on the fourth floor.
Okay.
My biggest fear is just being trapped there for a few days, but I do feel like we have enough supplies to withstand that.
And just so you know, y'all had mentioned to me earlier, you have hurricane-proof windows.
We do.
So
yes.
that's a good protection, just like shutters and boarding. So you're out of the water, at least harm's way,
yes.
And you have enough food and water to last for several days.
Yes, we do.
All right, let's move on down the line. We have Nate and Stephanie. You're from Maine, and you've been born and raised here for a while. Have you ever been through anything like this before?
Never with a direct hit, no. So I'm a little uncertain.
Just Hurricane Bob when I was 3 years old.
And that was up in Maine?
And that was Maine, Category 1.
Category 1. This is quite a different ball game, and y'all are planning on riding out the storm, but you said that you're high up on the 6th floor, is that correct?
6th floor, yep. So
okay.
Biggest concern would probably be the wind.
The wind.
I think we'll be okay from the water, and then just concerned about the city in general.
For
love
sure.
the city, so.
Do you feel like people are really heeding that advice?
I think so, yeah. Most of my friends and people I know have evacuated already. I work at the hospital, so I want to stay close, but
okay.
I think people are taking it seriously, yeah.
All right, and we have Tracy and Alan, and y'all are evacuating.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. When are you heading out?
We're heading out later today in a few hours.
And you're going up, not going super far, just up to northeast side of Tampa.
Right, Wesley Chapel area. So it'll be far enough inland to be out of the storm surge. We're going to stay. We were all stuck
because she works at the hospital, and you're going to be riding out the storm in the hospital right behind us to keep everyone safe.
Yep, I'm going to be staying in the hospital. I was already supposed to be working there this weekend, and it just seemed like the safest place to be.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to try and look over everyone. That's what we want everyone here to do. Again, still time to evacuate if need be, especially if you live in Zone A. Keep in mind mandatory evacuations here in Hillsborough County and throughout Tampa Bay Metro. And this is one spot that has not seen a major hurricane, Reynolds, in almost 100 years. And it really looks like we could take a beating here going into tomorrow night. Back to you in Jacksonville.
It certainly does appear, Chris, that's going to be a firm possibility. So certainly our thoughts are with the great people of Tampa and throughout the state, no question about it. The millions of people that call Florida home, every single one of them has a story. And what stories we will have to tell and share over the next several days. Well, let's get you up to speed with what we know right now. And for that, we're going to send it right back to the studio with Liana.
All right, thank you so much, Reynolds. And we do know, sadly, at least 23 deaths are now being blamed on Irma after smashing into islands across the Caribbean, including places like Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Storm surge warning now extends into Tampa Bay, just where Chris was, with 5 to 8 feet of storm surge possible in some areas. Tampa Airport closes tonight at 8 p.m., and the U.S. Coast Guard is shutting down the ports at Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Manatee. So let's go ahead and time out other impacts for Irma. And not only do we have the storm surge, the winds, and also a tornado threat, we're looking at the tracking of winds pushing well inland. And so Dr. Navarro has touched on this, but by Sunday morning, 140-mile-per-hour winds will be knocking at your door in South Florida, Miami. Tampa, you'll be reaching those 140-mile-per-hour wind gusts by Sunday night. And Monday morning, still at 115 miles per hour across the panhandle of Florida and pushing even well into Georgia. So it pushes further into the inland areas. Nashville, you'll start seeing those 30-mile-per-hour winds kicking up by Tuesday morning. So it's Wednesday morning, that's when you'll start seeing things really start to weaken, but still those 30-mile-per-hour winds still remain a threat. Starting off with Marathon, Florida and the Keys, we're looking from now into Sunday night, seeing those tropical storm force winds at 40+ mile-per-hour winds. The stronger gusts expected late Saturday night into Sunday morning, and that rainfall, almost 2 feet of rainfall and up to 10 feet of storm surge across the area. Fort Myers, Florida, similar story. Saturday night is when you can expect those tropical storm force wind gusts. The stronger gusts kick in Sunday night, and you can expect almost a foot of rain and up to 15 feet of rainfall, or of storm surge, I should say. And as far as the rainfall total, you can expect from now ending Monday night across this hot pink area, that's almost 1.5 feet of rain, 13 to 14 inches of rain expected, and a little bit smaller amounts further north. But Reynolds, is still going to be a lot of impacts across the entire state.
No question about that. And a huge part of the story, what's going to happen later on once it makes its way into other parts of the southeast, Georgia, the Carolinas, possibly Tennessee. Well, folks, for the very latest on this situation, Irma continues to track her way to the north. We're going to give you step-by-step what we can expect. That's coming up after this commercial message.
Ground-in dust and dirt doesn't wait for the big weekly clean. So grab the only cord-free vacuum with the Dyson Digital Motor V8 that has powerful suction to clean deep. And up to 40 minutes runtime to clean anywhere, anytime, by anyone.
Patients that I see that complain about dry mouth, they feel like they have to drink a lot of water. Medications seem to be the #1 cause for dry mouth. I like to recommend Biotene. It replenishes the moisture in your mouth. Biotene definitely works.
As Hurricane Irma approaches, there is one place to turn to and to trust. Taking you to the front lines, keeping you ahead of the storm. Experts breaking down the science behind the system, tracking every possible path.
Follow the Weather Channel. They're tracking exactly where the storm's going to be.
Whether we're getting you through it or taking you to it, trust in the Weather Channel.
Frisky's World.
Hey, what's in there?
Oh, is that a crunchy kibble?
Is that a ring of gravy?
It's gravy made crunchy. New Frisky's Gravy Swirlers.
Real gravy baked right in.
Crunchy gravy.
We get it, buddy. We get it.
Feed their fantasy.
Wouldn't you like to be out on the rolling sea with only the sky above?
Hey, Grandpa. Hey, kid. Really good to see you. You too. You told Grandma you were going fishing again? Maybe.
The best things in life keep going. That's why I got a Subaru too.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
It's been building up over decades. And through 35 years of severe weather, it's strengthened into trust. Trust in the Weather Channel. To us, nothing matters more. Every season, every storm, every time you watch, trust the Weather Channel.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71.
These aren't actors, they're real people who got real savings at DealDash.com, the fair and honest bidding site. At DealDash.com, you can save up to 99%, but hurry, everything must go.
And shipping is always free.
Visit DealDash.com and start bidding today.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-300-7112 or go to mesobook.com.
Every season, every storm, every time you watch, trust in the Weather Channel.
All right, and we are live here in Tampa as we await powerful, beastly Hurricane Irma, and it just devastated Cuba and is now has its path set here towards the Sunshine State. We want to show you some video coming out of Lee County of people in line to get into the shelter here, and this is the urgency that we want everyone to know. If you feel unsafe at your location, at your home or your friend's home or wherever you may have planned on riding out the storm, and you feel unsafe, you head to the closest shelter that has openings, and you can see that's what people in Southwest Florida are doing, especially awaiting potentially a direct hit from this storm. Now here in Tampa, of course, we have downtown Tampa behind me. It has been nearly 100 years since we've seen a major hurricane move through Tampa Bay. So a lot of people here have never been in a hurricane or have ridden one out. There's been close calls with Charlie, as we know, but of course they've been spared the worst. This may not be the case here with Irma. Storm surge, life-threatening expected here in Tampa, St. Pete, and throughout Tampa Bay. Mandatory evacuations where I am here in Zone A throughout Hillsborough County. And we want to take it back to the studio in Liana. Just scary scenes. A lot of people, though, the good news is a lot of people are heeding that message, and there is still time to finalize those preparations and head out of town, especially if you live in a storm zone. Liana, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Chris. And surge watch, as well as the coastlines of Georgia and South Carolina. Here's a look at the forecast, what we can expect across South Florida. We're looking at 5 to 10 feet in that orange area, but check out this bullseye in the purple. That's 10 to 15 feet above ground. Now, that's pushing on the dry ground across the area, 2 to 4 feet in the blue and 6 to 10 feet in the red. And Dr.
on the western side of Florida, because this side is particularly vulnerable to this storm surge threat due to the way the ocean floor is situated. On the Gulf side of Florida, the ocean floor is a bit more shallow than in other parts. That exacerbates that storm surge threat because it allows that water to come up more quickly and go a little bit further when we're talking about some of these numbers. If we go ahead and zoom in towards the Big Bend area, potentially a place like Tampa, notice the numbers in Cedar Key there are in the orange and reds. That is a storm surge worst case scenario in excess of 6 feet in some of those areas. That is enough to flood the first floor of your home. If we zoom in a place like Tampa, notice the majority of the area in the yellow and orange. This is a 5 to 8 foot, potentially higher storm surge threat here for most of these folks in this area. That is a lot for the Tampa area. Again, we can even zoom in a little bit closer here south and east of 275, and notice here in the Gandy area we are talking the potential for 6 to 9 feet. If we go ahead and go further south to a place like Naples, that's where things really start to get serious because we are talking about a worst case scenario of 9 feet or more in some of these regions. So again, a place like Naples, we could see an entire city underwater, and this goes well inland from the coast. It's not just the coastal areas, but likely actually miles from the coast that will likely see this water. If we go ahead and pick this up and look at it in 3D, we're talking the potential here for water that could flood your first and potentially second floor of your home. So a storm surge of up to 3 feet is enough to submerge your car. But if we go up a little bit higher than that, notice here, your whole first floor of your home is no longer available. That water has filled in and is likely floating things like debris and chemicals. So now there are threats in the water as well that you need to be aware of. But if we do get up into that 9-foot range, that is enough to flood your entire home and is not a situation you want to find yourself in.
Michelin, a better way forward.
Quaker breakfast flats are crafted with these delicious ingredients and more, and baked with our wholesome Quaker oats to help keep you going. Help satisfy your morning hunger with every single bite. Quaker breakfast flats.
I'm only in my 60s. I've got a nice long life ahead, big plans. So when I found out Medicare doesn't pay all my medical expenses, I looked at my options. Then I got a Medicare supplement insurance plan.
If you're eligible for Medicare, you may know it only covers about 80% of your Part B medical expenses. The rest is up to you. Call now and find out about an AARP Medicare supplement insurance plan insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like all standardized Medicare supplement insurance plans, it helps pick up some of what Medicare doesn't pay and could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs.
To me, relationships matter. I've been with my doctor for 12 years. Now I know I'll be able to stick with them.
With these types of plans, you'll be able to visit any doctor or hospital that accepts Medicare patients. Plus, there are no networks and virtually no referrals needed. So don't wait. Call now and request this free decision guide to help you better understand Medicare and which AARP Medicare supplement plan might be best for you. There's a wide range to choose from.
We love to travel, and there's so much more to see. So we found a plan that can travel with us anywhere in the country.
Join the millions of people who have already enrolled in the only Medicare supplement insurance plans endorsed by AARP, an organization serving the needs of people 50 and over for generations. Remember, all Medicare supplement insurance plans help cover what Medicare doesn't pay and could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. Call now to request your free decision guide and learn more about the kinds of plans that will be here for you now and down the road.
I have a lifetime of experience, so I know how important that is.
Welcome to Smarter Investing. At Betterment, we've created automated investing to help people make better financial decisions and reach their goals. We help you manage your money, stay on track for retirement, and seek the returns you deserve. Go to betterment.com/invest and get up to 1 year managed free.
Constipated? Trust #1 doctor recommended Dulcolax. Use Dulcolax tablets for gentle, dependable relief, suppositories for relief in minutes, and Dulcoes for comfortable relief of hard stools. Dulcolax, designed for dependable relief.
It's been building up over decades. And through 35 years of severe weather, it's strengthened into trust. Trust in the Weather Channel. To us, nothing matters more. Every season, every storm, every time you watch, trust the Weather Channel.
The impacts here are imminent in the state of Florida.
This is a lot of rain, a lot of wind, but what's troubled me all week was a storm surge.
This hurricane coming, I am not going to stay here.
Winds are only going to get stronger from here on out.
If a hurricane comes here and takes this town out, it's going to be a financial disaster.
Welcome Welcome back to continued coverage of Hurricane Irma. I'm meteorologist Reynolds Wolf, coming to you from Jacksonville, Florida, where the wind is picking up. Skies are getting dark, and we've had bouts of rainfall, but it's much worse farther to our south in Miami. Take a look at the projected path that we have for you. Also, the watches and warnings that decorate the map. Many places in a state of preparedness, and understandably so. We've seen what is left in its path, the wake of destruction, and unfortunately it does appear that there will be more on the way. Again, the shot that we have now along the St. Johns River is one that's been interesting. We've had some people that have come by, and they said that the river has actually gone up quite a bit over the last several days. You'll notice also right here in the distance, Marshall, I don't know if you can see that, water coming up, getting very close to the wall, possibly topping it in the days to come. And speaking of water, that is one of the big stories that we're going to have in here. Right along parts of the 75 corridor and points east could deal with rainfall that could be anywhere from, say, 8 inches to maybe up as high as 14. So a flooding situation does appear imminent. Another huge story that we have has to do with the power. I want you to take a look at a couple of maps. Now, when you look at this map, you'll see it right there. You've got that dark pink color, and then you see the lighter pink color. What that does, that shows you the power outage forecast that we anticipate, where it could be possible where it's the lighter shade, but then you see that darker, that widespread color, again, that pink. The thing to consider is when you have the population of that area, we're talking about customers of 2.5 million. 2.5 million customers. And think about it, that's each individual structure. Now, if you have, say, 4 people living in each of those houses on average, we're talking getting close to around 8 million people, if not more, without power for some time to come. With this kind of wind that's going to pick up, you think about the damage that'll be on roadways. You think about how it's going to be so difficult for those power crews to get from one part of the community or one part of the state to the other. So places that are dealing with the storm surge, dealing with the flooding, it's going to be very troublesome. And then you have a lot of the people who have evacuated from South Florida. They've made their way to this area. They may not be familiar with how to get from one side of the city to the other. And then you compound that with water coming up, covering the roadways in many spots. It is a tremendous issue for millions of people. The suffering that we may be dealing with in days to come that could last possibly for weeks. Now, let's share again the warnings that we have for the time being. Where we happen to be, we have a hurricane warning right now. We also have a flood warning. We got the wind that right now continues to pick up. This is actually some of the strongest that we've had here, and this is going to be nothing compared to what we may be seeing later on in the weekend and into early Monday. But we can expect in our position possibly winds going up to 30 to 40 to 50 miles an hour, maybe up to 75 miles an hour, 75. So, again, but small comparison with what we're going to have in places like Miami, where Dr. Erica Navarro, I know they're already feeling the effects much, much farther to the south.
Yeah, absolutely. In particular, I'm taking a look at the Florida Keys because we are seeing the wind gusts there heading up into the tropical storm force range. And of course, these conditions will area, but we're already seeing here the west of Cuba. We're still seeing the impacts of Hurricane Irma because it has not quite left the coast there. We saw wind gusts in excess of 100 miles per hour already today, so it is already battering down along this coast. And it likely looks like this will change in the future as we are anticipating this storm to move off to the northwest sometime during the day today and tomorrow. If you take a look right now at where the center of the circulation is, notice right at the end of that loop, you can see that eye starting to emerge now back over water. So potentially we are seeing that eye finally coming offshore here, but it's still hugging just the outer skirts of the northern coast of Cuba. But if we look at where this is anticipated to go, this white line here to the right of the eye is showing you where Irma has come, and this red line is showing you the forecast of where we're expecting it to go. We are anticipating that eye to move off to the northwest sometime today. But again, even these details are not set in stone because that storm could wait a little bit longer to start making that turn, or could turn even more quickly than we are anticipating. Again, these are the limits of the uncertainty that we're dealing with the hurricane science. But regardless of whenever Irma makes that turn, we have very warm ocean temperatures here in the region of the Florida Straits where this storm will be going. That will allow that storm to potentially increase its speed and exhibit some further intensification before it makes landfall or moves over the Florida Keys area and eventually comes up the western side of Florida. This is absolutely a catastrophic forecast that we are talking about because we could be getting back up into the Category 4 range and bringing those impacts into the Florida Keys. So this is a very dangerous threat here that we are talking about. We are still anticipating the effects to begin there in the Keys around Sunday morning. The forecast for the winds there is 140 miles per hour. Again, we could be seeing wind gusts in excess of that. And then moving on from there, throughout the day tomorrow, this is Sunday, we're expecting Irma to basically move parallel to the Florida coast and make landfall somewhere along Florida's coast. But again, exactly where, we cannot tell you with any high certainty at this moment of time. Unfortunately, that's not likely to be the case until well before that happens. So we'll keep you posted with the latest information as that comes in. But we are expecting, again, that storm to move up the coast tomorrow and then head off into Georgia and then off to the west after that, bringing the impacts throughout the southeast. So a very tricky forecast here with many threats to be considered. The storm surge forecast is among the biggest ones here, especially for the western coast of Florida. In the Fort Myers and Naples area, we are talking the potential for a 10 to 15-foot storm surge. That threat extends well beyond the coast into the inland areas because that is a lot of water to be pushed up on shore here on the southern side of that circulation of Irma. Off to the north of that, in between Fort Myers and Tampa, we are still talking the potential for 6 to 10 feet. And then, of course, in the Tampa Bay area, 5 to 8 foot potential even into the downtown Tampa area. So again, this is a life-threatening situation here with storm surge. This is not something that you can withstand. This is why the evacuation orders have been issued, because this is a threat to your life in many of these areas. So please heed these warnings. However, as that circulation of Irma continues to move up the coast here, Monday and Tuesday, we will have strong onshore winds now into the northern coast of Florida, as well as the coastal areas of Georgia and South Carolina. So places like Savannah, Hilton Head, and Charleston, you could be looking at a 4 to 6 foot storm surge as well, with the track of that circulation again moving into that area. Of course, these details may change just slightly, but these are the threats that we are dealing with. Again, in many of these areas, we are talking the potential for up to a foot of rain across the majority of the state of Florida. This will likely be higher here in the south and western part of Florida, again, because we're going to have that strong onshore flow coming straight off the ocean here. Lots of moisture to come onshore. But if we head up to the north and to the southeast, we are still talking 3 to 6 inches of rain, potentially higher than that, throughout Georgia, in a place like Atlanta as well, and even off towards Columbia and South Carolina. And now these are going to be tropical downpours, so very high rainfall rates that we could be talking about. So Reynolds, it looks like the threats here are going to be starting in South Florida very soon, but up towards a place like Jacksonville where you are, Sunday night, things could really start picking up, and we could be seeing having an impact on the pressure gradient where you are. So we're seeing that lower pressure off to the south and higher pressure up near you to the north. That's actually increasing the wind speeds because we're seeing a higher pressure gradient. Those winds are trying to come in to relieve that pressure. That's why things are already starting to pick up. And this is, again, well away from the center of circulation of Irma. Irma is still down near the Caribbean. So this is giving you an idea of the impacts that we are expecting with a Category 4 hurricane. This is a very strong storm. The pressure is near 930 millibars. That has a huge impact on the atmosphere because a pressure that low is going to be bringing impacts well away from the center. So Reynolds, that's why we're already seeing the winds coming to pick up in your area in Jacksonville.
I do believe the winds have certainly picked up, and now we have some scattered showers that are coming through. Certainly not the magnitude of what we anticipate later on this weekend and into early next week. Well, the state is certainly all getting prepared. No question about it. A lot of cities certainly doing the same. Let's go now, if we can, to Mayor Marnie Sawicki of Cape Coral. Good Mayor, hopefully I did not mispronounce your name.
You did not.
Okay, well, Mayor, first question for you is, in terms of the state of preparedness, how are things ready in your town? Are you ready for what's coming?
We are ready. We have excellent emergency personnel. We went through an incredible FEMA training class last year. So we have everybody in our command center ready to go. We're operating at full activation right now. The biggest thing for us is finding shelter, is finding people. Our shelters are filling so quick. And as you know, most of our city is in a storm surge area. So finding locations that are safe for people is very difficult in my city.
Oh, without question. I mean, you think about the damage that something of this magnitude can do to a well-constructed building with a strong roof. It can still cause all kinds of trouble. For people who are thinking of staying behind and they don't have a great deal of confidence in their structure, maybe they're in a mobile home, maybe they're in a home that's considerably older, what advice would you give them? Just to get to the shelters as soon as possible?
Absolutely. We have a website set up and have had it for 2 days. It's www.capecoral.net/hurricane. It lists every shelter. It's immediately updated as new shelters are added. All of them are pet friendly that we are adding. I don't think you'll see anybody turn away anybody with a pet. I think the biggest thing for us is trying to locate those special needs shelters that so many people need in our area. So, but I know Lee County Management System is doing a wonderful job. As needed, they are opening up new shelters honestly, about every 10, 15 minutes, I get an update of a new shelter that's opening.
Long days ahead for you and the great people in your community and all over the region, no doubt about it. Thank you so much for your time. What a story we have. Let's go now to what's to come in Tampa.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a sense of urgency here in the Tampa metro area, but also to our south. Sarasota County not taking any of this lightly. In fact, take a listen as to what the emergency management team is urging residents to do. They're saying if you are going to evacuate, you need to do so right now. Take a listen.
We will also be sending law enforcement and fire rescue personnel into these areas on the barrier islands, low-lying areas, the river, and mobile home parks to remind people. And we ask you to please evacuate. Evacuate now. You have until 8 p.m. this evening to complete your movement. You do not have to go hundreds of miles. You can go tens of miles. We have shelters open here. We opened 4 more today.
All right, and when your emergency crews are urging you to evacuate, you need to listen to them and get out of harm's way. Again, they're really concerned about the storm surge, and that's the big issue here as well. We are in Tampa Bay, downtown Tampa, right behind me here on my left, and we have the mouth of the Hillsborough River. All of this, by the way, is under Zone A mandatory evacuation. That includes places like Hyde Park. Bayshore Boulevard, just off to my right, is one of the first places to flood, and in any given event, especially here a hurricane, when we're talking a potential storm surge of 5 to 8 feet above dry ground, that's going to put all of this underwater, guys. This is why a lot of folks are headed out of town. You don't have to go super far. And again, getting around Tampa hasn't been too bad. A lot of people already gone. But once you go to 75, there's still a lot of slowdowns here. Now, keep in mind, we are under a hurricane warning and a storm surge warning here throughout the Tampa Bay metro area. We're talking 3 million people here and the Tampa Bay metro. This is no joke, and this is really, really looking more and more like a worst-case scenario here for Tampa, as we haven't dealt with a major hurricane in nearly 100 years directly. 1921 was the last time we got hit directly here by a major hurricane. So a lot of people have never even been through a hurricane and don't necessarily know what to do. A lot of shelters opening up, and again, mandatory evacuations here in Hillsborough County for Zone A, Pinellas County, which is St. Petersburg, Zone A and B under mandatory evacuations. Heed those warnings and get out of harm's way. We'll send it back to Reynolds Wolf in Jacksonville. And again, even there in Jacksonville, Reynolds, you're already dealing with the rain. We haven't even seen a drop yet. And again, the storm is far-reaching.
Oh. Well, it's definitely on the way, no question about it. You're right. We have gotten quite a bit of rain that's coming down for the time being. In fact, if we pan over here a little bit, let's move the camera over. Marshall, I don't know if you can do that. It's hard to even see the other side of the St. Johns River for the time being. The rain definitely coming down in sheets, and we're going to see a lot more of that. Let's now send it back into the
microphone. Little mishap right there, but here's a quick recap of what we know right now. We are now expecting major hurricane force winds over Key West by daybreak Sunday morning. Mandatory evacuation orders are out for more than 6 million people across Florida, the largest evacuation, in fact, in the state's history. Florida Power and Light is mobilizing an additional 13,500 workers from across 30 states to help keep the lights on across the state after Irma. And Disney World is closing down later tonight and will stay closed through at least Monday, just the 5th time the park is ever closed. Disney Resort hotels will stay open. Let's go ahead and take a look at the timing and city impacts of hurricane. Good information for everyone to latch onto, and we're seeing so many people taking advantage of all the notices. So this is the time to be ready. Right now, here's the earliest timing of the arrival of tropical storm winds. That's 40+ mile-per-hour winds reaching Naples by about Saturday 8 p.m. That's tonight at 8 p.m. Sunday 8 a.m. reaching Tampa. Jacksonville, you're in line for seeing it Sunday 8 p.m. Tallahassee between the hours of Sunday night into early Monday morning, and beyond that, it's going to be extending into Monday and into Tuesday as well. So starting off with Miami, we're looking at those tropical storm force wind gusts at 40+ mile-per-hour winds from now into late Sunday. The peak, the strongest winds at 75 or even higher wind gusts are Sunday with almost a foot of rain, and combine that with the storm surge up to 6 feet. And as far as how much rain you can expect across the southern half of the state, this is a lot of rain. I mean, we've already had a very wet summer, and from now ending Monday night, we can expect almost a foot and a half in that hot pink area, if not more. And in that red shade, that's almost a foot of rain, including the cities of Belle Glade, Fort Myers, Naples, and Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Higher up, we're looking at almost 7 to 8 to 9 inches over West Palm Beach and even beyond that. So we're going to take a closer look at more cities in line to see these impacts. Starting off with West Palm Beach, we're looking at Saturday night, late tonight into Monday morning, where you can see those 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts picking up. The peak will be Sunday. That's where you can expect those 75+ wind gusts, 5 to 8 inches of rainfall, but that storm surge up to 4 feet, and it's very low elevation all across these areas. Jacksonville, Florida, Sunday night into Monday morning is when you'll start seeing those 40+ mile-per-hour winds. Monday morning, though, that's when those really, really strong wind gusts kick in, and then you have almost a foot of rain combined with that, and again, up to 4 feet in storm surge. The rainfall total forecast from now into Monday, so all this weekend, this is how much rainfall we can expect across the central part of the state of Florida. Jacksonville, Brunswick, expect almost a foot of rain. That's what you can expect, all in that red shade. A little bit further out in that orange area, that's about 6 to 10 inches of rain. That's still including Valdosta and Gainesville. You're kind of in that borderline of that orange and red area. So that's still an I-95 completely soaked and saturated. Savannah, Georgia, now we're working our way even further along the East Coast. Now Monday, that's when you can start seeing those 40+ mile-per-hour wind gusts. The strongest winds really kick in Monday night, and that's going to be closer to about 60+ mile-per-hour winds, 5 to 8 inches and up to 6 feet of storm surge. And again, power outages and flooding is definitely expected from now ending Tuesday for across the South Carolina coastline as well as the Georgia coastline. We're going to send it back out to Reynolds. Hey Reynolds.
All right, well, we have just had a little bit of a squall line that came right on through, dumped quite a bit of rain. It's just a small sample of what's to come over the next several days. We are in Jacksonville, Florida, right along the banks of the St. Johns River, and right off in the distance, you can see the Main Street Bridge that was built back in August of 1941. What's interesting is just 6 years before that, in 1935, we had a Category 5 hurricane that hit South Florida, hit the Florida Keys, the Labor Day hurricane. It was so destructive, the system, that it killed 400 people, and some of the survivors who happened to make it through that horrible storm reported the wind and the water was so incredibly strong it actually ripped the clothes off their bodies. This system looks like it is going to get stronger. It is headed once again for our shorelines, and when it does, folks, you got to be prepared. A lot of people mobilizing right now, trying to get up and out of the state, trying to get to those shelters, taking every step, every precaution to try to stay safe as this system continues to march in our direction. Well, we're going to give you more coverage of what we can expect not only around Florida, but in other states as well. We thank you for tuning in at the Weather Channel, also local now. You're going to want to keep it here as we make you through step by step. Sir, go right on by. One of many people out in the rain today, and we've got more showers, possibly, again, heavy rainfall, upwards of a foot over the next several days. We'll see you on the other side of this commercial break.
Need deep, long-lasting pain relief? Try Salon Pa's Deep Relieving Gel. 3 powerful medicines penetrate and treat pain for up to 8 hours. Need faster relief?
Doesn't wait for the big weekly clean. So grab the only cord-free vacuum with a Dyson Digital 20 minutes runtime to clean anywhere, anytime, by anyone.
As Hurricane Irma approaches, there is one place to turn to and to trust, taking you to the front lines, keeping you ahead of the storm. Experts breaking down the science behind the system, tracking every possible twist in the Weather Channel.
Oh, you brought Butch.
Yeah.
He's looking at me right now, isn't he?
Yep.
Butch is like an old soul that just hates my guts.
You can never have too many faithful companions.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
Looking for balance in your digestive system? Try Align Probiotic. For a non-stop, sweet treat goodness, hold on to your Tiara kind of day. Get 24/7 digestive support with Align, the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand, also in kids' chewables.
I enjoy the fresher things in life. Fresh towels, fresh soaps, and of course, TripAdvisor's freshest, lowest prices. So, if you're anything like me, you'll want to check TripAdvisor. We now instantly compare prices from over 200 booking sites to find you the lowest price on the hotel you want. Go on, try something fresh. TripAdvisor, the latest reviews, the lowest prices.
Working hard to lower your LDL bad cholesterol? Not making enough progress? You eat well, take the highest dose statin you can, but still aren't getting where you need to be. Now there's Repatha, a different way to reduce LDL and get on the path to dramatically lower numbers. Repatha works differently than your statin to help clear LDL. Repatha plus the highest dose statin drove down LDL an average of 71% more than a statin alone.
Do not take Repatha if you are allergic to it. Repatha may cause allergic reactions. Signs include redness, severe rash or itching, swollen face, or trouble breathing. The most common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
Added to a highest dose statin, Repatha lowered LDL below 70 for up to 90% of people. Ask if Repatha can get you on the path to way lower LDL.
Right now, wild tigers face an urgent crisis. Black market demand for tiger skin and bone has surged, triggering a spike in tiger poaching. Wild tiger numbers are so low that this demand could push them to extinction. But WWF is working to increase the number of wild tigers. Your support can help us stop poaching, eliminate demand for their parts, and protect their habitat. You can help us stop wild tigers and other endangered species from vanishing. Call or visit WWFnow.org to symbolically adopt a tiger for just $8 a month and receive this free adoption kit as a thank you. There is nothing as final as extinction. Act now, before it's too late.
We've got a team of experts that are lined up here in Florida, and of course we've got an Army personnel back at the Weather Channel.
On Monday, and that's very, very sad, but the shock that any of the trees are in that even survived this thing without being clipped right off will be few, I think.
One of the many voices from Miami, deep concern there, and that is certainly a common refrain, common thought around the state, around the region. People really definitely frightened by the system, what's left behind and what may be yet to come. I was looking at some stats here. They were just staggering. Miami-Dade's population, get this, back in 1990, the population was 1.9 million people, and in 2016, 2.7. That's quite an explosion in terms of population. Also, when you think about Andrew, when Andrew struck in August of 1992, it cost 26.5 billion with a B, dollars with the damage, killed 65 people, destroyed 63,000 homes, and damaged 125,000 homes. Now, with that population in the uptick, you have to think there are more structures, there are more buildings, more things to be damaged by this system. Think about that. You also have growth in other places like Naples and Tampa. You've got spots where the population's been going up, many new neighborhoods in places like Orlando, all over the state. People have been flooding in. Certainly terrifying. You think about just this confluence, Erica, of all these people from all these spots that converge and come here to Florida. Wonderful state, and now you have this system that's churning its way right through the tropics and making a bead for this region. Certainly terrifying. Thankfully, a lot of people did heed those evacuation orders.
Agreed, Reynolds. It is certainly terrifying, but very glad to see that people are paying attention and heeding these warnings, because this track is very unique, with the center of circulation basically moving up the entire state of Florida. Certainly something here folks have not seen in a very long time. Want to get you the latest information here, as we have some information coming out of a NOAA plane here that's flying through Irma. They've made a first pass near the center of circulation and have measured a pressure that's 939 millibars. Now, this is just about 2 millibars lower than their last advisory, so this storm has likely stopped its weakening for the time being. Again, we have been talking about that potential for some further intensification before that storm approaches the Florida Keys tomorrow. So we are likely seeing the beginning effects of that as that center of circulation is moving offshore. We'll keep a close eye on this to see what the wind speeds they measure are right now. They're up into the hurricane force range. We could be seeing gusts higher than that because, again, we are talking about a major Category 3 storm here moving off the coast of Cuba. But that's not the only storm that we have out in the Atlantic right now. Back here to the east, this is Hurricane Jose, and this system has made some very impressive intensity changes over the last 48 hours, and it looks classic, textbook on the satellite imagery, with a very well-defined center here and lots of deep tropical thunderstorm activity. This is a powerful Category 4 storm here. This is the first time on our record keeping that we've had 2 simultaneous Category 4 storms in the Atlantic Basin, and if you go back to Harvey, which was also a Category 4. But getting back now to the imminent situation that is Hurricane Irma, it is still moving along the central coast of Cuba here. This is the northern coast of Cuba, where we've been seeing some very high winds here. Wind gusts upwards of 159 miles per hour, but we're seeing reports of sustained winds in the 60 mile per hour range. So this is still bringing some impacts here, battering down, and it will continue on moving towards Florida sometime through this evening tonight, and then, of course, into tomorrow. To get a closer look at South Florida, we're not seeing the hurricane force winds right now, but we are seeing gusts into the 50 mile per hour range here along the Florida Keys. This is south of Florida now, and tornadoes. But the center of circulation is still well to the south here, and again, will be moving off to the north throughout the time frame. All right, this is a model forecast showing you the wind speeds, what we could potentially be expecting throughout the weekend and into early next week. This is now Sunday afternoon, and notice those white colors there, very strong circulation moving into the western part of Florida here. Bringing in the heavy rainfall and, of course, the storm surge, but it might remain offshore a little bit longer than we are anticipating here. Again, these details are still coming together as we are getting the latest information in, but it will be moving up north across the state of Florida here. So by Monday morning, that center of circulation will be somewhere near the Big Bend. So we'll be seeing that strong return flow on the south side moving into the Tampa area, again exacerbating that storm surge threat there. But then we will see conditions worsen worsening here along the northeastern side of Florida. Details are showing that this storm is going to weaken significantly, so now we've lost that circulation, but we are likely still to be seeing some high winds and heavy rainfall even into the Atlanta area. So still many threats here to come with Irma. We'll have plenty more coverage coming throughout the day, both from in the studio and live in the field.
A storm surge of 5 to 10 feet could wipe out our low-lying areas.
Well, very concerned.
The Weather Channel started talking about this storm far enough out. They heeded our warning.
Welcome back to continued coverage of Hurricane Irma. I'm meteorologist Reynolds Wolf, coming to you from what is now rainy and windy Jacksonville, Florida. I'm right along the banks of the St. Johns River, and you're seeing on the map right there the projected path and the warnings and watches that we have throughout much of our region. Troubling times, no question about it. The state in a state of preparedness. Many smaller communities doing all they can for the time being to board up, to move out of Sarasota. Now, the video, my producer got in my ear a short while ago and described it as looking like a line of ants. And she's absolutely right. You look at it, like one continued organism, like a bunch of them moving just right through. This in Fort Myers, I apologize. Fort Myers, but it is a scene that's very similar in many other parts of the state. People trying to get out, trying to find safety. A lot of the shelters, people using those too, they're filling up. That's certainly a good thing to see. The problem is the purpose of it is a troubling one. This big barreling system that's left a wake of destruction all through the tropics, and now possibly gaining strength in the coming hours before it bears down on parts of Florida. I saw some video a short while ago of Key West where some of the water is actually coming up at the southernmost point, and certainly that's a sign, a small sign of what's to come. Let's take a look at some other maps. That we can share with you, including these maybe into Tennessee, perhaps even the Carolinas. Another huge part of the story is going to be the number of people out of power. Customers, we're thinking 2.5 million customers that power. That's not people, those are customers. Now, you think about each of those customers, say you've got four people on average that live in each house. We're talking upwards of 8 million people without power, and possibly something that can't be restored quickly. Because you think about the crews, all the power crews that are going to be in the States, first thing they do is they got to clear the roadways. Then they have to string the cables back up. That's going to take a long time. No easy fixes whatsoever. And then people trying as hard as they can. Go home, and you're trying to think about your community and what it's going to look like after this. Unbelievable. My goodness. Well, right now, we're going to talk about other people that are getting prepared around the state. We're going to go now, if we can, to Ed McCrane. Hopefully, I'm saying your name correctly, sir. The Sarasota Sarasota County Emergency Management Office. Are you with us, Ed?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you for having us on.
I'm so happy that you're taking time to speak with us. I know I can indeed. I hear you loud and clear. You sound fantastic.
This is a very serious storm, and it's affecting the entire state of Florida. We had a visit from Governor Rick Scott and Congressman Vern Buchanan and the Adjutant General of the National Guard today. A very uplifting, positive message for all of us that they're going to be there. The federal government, state government will be there to back us up. But we've been doing this since Monday, watching it on Labor Day, and then, moving into preparing for all of this. We also have a lot of cooperation from a couple of our shelters, and then when the threat changed, we had to kind of shift gears, open up more. We have 8 open now. We're looking at 9. We have 2 special needs, which is for the frail, medically elderly with oxygen dependent and such. And then we had to support a county to our south because they had to evacuate one of theirs when the track shifted, and now we're supporting them in our county. So we're prepared. I know nobody wants to go through this, but we'll get through it together. And we appreciate all the information we're getting from the National Weather Service and, of course, your channel.
Well, thank you so much. We thank you for the great job. The past, the present. Do you do the same thing? For example, when you saw what happened in Texas with Hurricane Harvey, and you saw the damage and you saw the flooding, did you learn any lessons from what they dealt with that can help you prepare for what we might be experiencing here in the coming hours and days?
Oh, definitely. We sure did. And, you know, we have a flood warning and response plan that we utilize, and it's very effective. Our geographical information systems map out all those flood areas. And then we have a telephone notification system. So we from Harvey, you know, when we saw, we better make sure we got that tightened down. So for this storm, since we might get that 6 to 12 inches of rain and we might get surge, we have some river and creek and bayou areas. So enforcement, fire rescue units into those neighborhoods, into the mobile home parks, warning everybody that they may not be watching the news. They may not realize that we're under evacuation. And one of the things that we discovered this time, too, with us was we have a people with special needs registry. We ask people to sign up for these events so we can rescue them, get them there to a safe location so we don't have to rescue later, but we protect them initially. And we had about 1,800 people on that registry. With this storm, about 500 or 600 people actually have been registering since Tuesday, nonstop. And so that we ask people to please, when those programs exist, find everybody that's not in a safe location and get them there until we no longer can operate. And when the wind conditions get so bad we can't move, and that's it. And we've done the best we could. We're using every form of media, social media, notification systems, you name it, and it's working. We know it's going to be rough, but we're doing well, and we hope the best for our brothers and sisters to the south.
You know, I got to tell you, we throw the word hero around so haphazardly. We're at times it seems as though it doesn't have meaning, but that's not true. You guys are heroes. You're so great at what you do, and we certainly appreciate your time and the preparedness. And I wish we could just wipe all this away. It really is. It's about the families out there. We are just one giant family, aren't we, America? We truly are. And we're going to get through this, but we certainly have some tough times ahead of us in the coming days and weeks. Let's show you some video that we had out of Miami. This is some new video showing you just the first whispers of this roar that we're going to experience across the great state of Florida and possibly in days to come through other parts of the southeast. You see it coming through. The wind is picking up. Parts of Miami, just a ghost town, just empty. I got to tell you, just by experience, when I see some of those high-rise buildings, and this is from covering storms years past, like in Houston with Ike, unimaginable, certainly terrifying. And then another thing to factor when you have those high buildings, we have an effect that we sometimes refer to as compression, where the air can actually accelerate. So winds that are already strong can actually be even stronger and create even more damage. Get to your safe spot. I know you've heard it say it. We're going to say it a lot more today. The governor's been saying it. Every mayor, every emergency management person has been saying it. So by all means, do it. Let's go, if we can, back to Dr. Erica Navarro. And Erica, I keep looking back at what this has done so far, what it is doing now, and am terrified of the prospect of what may be coming in relatively short order.
Yeah, Reynolds, looking at the videos that have been coming out from Hurricane Irma in the U.S. Virgin Islands and places in the Leeward Islands earlier, it's really hard to think about, again, that threat coming here into the continental U.S., but with the coast of Florida in particular, which again is going to be devastating. We're taking a close look right now at the Florida Keys, taking a look at the water levels rising because we're beginning to see signs here of that water level coming up along the Keys, up to a foot in the Vaca Key area and just under a foot now in Key West. So again, that center of circulation is still well to the south, but we are seeing the impacts beginning well away from that center, again, both with the storm surge now, that water level starting to come up, and of course those outer bands moving onshore here now in the state of Florida. Here's a look at Hurricane Irma right now on the water vapor imagery on the satellite. You can see that storm just expanding and growing in size here. Plenty of thunderstorm activity, and it's in a favorable upper level wind environment, and also out of that area that forces more air up underneath the storm. That creates more tropical thunderstorm activity, which it allows that wind field not only to grow, but for that hurricane to also become stronger. And of course, we've been talking about how the water is fairly warm in the Florida Straits area, so we are likely to see some further intensification of this storm as it makes its way up to the western coast of Florida. So now, taking a look at the wave heights right now, again, the center of circulation is about 939 millibars. That's a fairly low pressure. So right in the center, that pressure is low, but if you depress the ocean surface somewhere, it's got to go up somewhere else, and we're seeing that right now as the wave heights are already fairly high here near the center of the circulation. This is up into the 25-foot range, so very large and destructive waves associated with this center of circulation. And if we as well, and those waves are also a huge part of the flooding and the coastal erosion threat here. So again, multiple threats that you need to be prepared for with this hurricane. This is now Sunday morning. Again, there's the center of circulation approaching the Florida Keys. Notice those values there are in the 25 to 30-foot range. Extremely high waves here, and also along the southeastern coast near Miami. Look at the wave heights there as well. Now, that center of circulation again is going to be moving on land sometime on Saturday afternoon and into Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, excuse me. And with that center of circulation coming up the middle of the state, that's going to bring impacts on both sides, both the eastern and moving north across the border of Florida into Georgia. That's going to be bringing those very high waves as well now into areas like Savannah, Hilton Head, and potentially Charleston as we have those strong onshore winds moving from the ocean to the land. So again, these are very large waves. This is in addition to the other threats that we are talking about. We are still talking about life-threatening storm surge here along the western coast of Florida. And Reynolds, although in a place like Jacksonville in the northeastern coast of Florida, we've seen those threats come down, you're still anticipating a storm surge potentially of 2 to 4 feet.
Still dealing with the storm surge of 2 to 4 feet. On top of that, the heavy rain that we expect, maybe anywhere from 8 to 14 inches of rain. So yeah, we're not out of the woods by any measure. Pressure gradient. So it's kind of a taste of what's to come. Only stronger stuff expected as we make our way through the end of the weekend into early next week. Let's send it back into the studio with Liana. Liana, can you get us up to speed? Give us the latest info of what we know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Reynolds. And we want to get you caught up with what we know on Hurricane Irma. 17.3 million people are now under hurricane warnings across Florida. At least 23 deaths are now being blamed on Irma after smashing into islands across the Caribbean, including places like Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Florida Light and Power estimates nearly half of the state's residents could lose power, and 10 to 15 feet of storm surge will be possible in spots all along the southwest Florida Florida coastline. And we're not just talking about the storm surge, but as well as the wind, rain, and even the tornado threat across for Hurricane Irma. So timing it out, we're looking at the forecast, the cone forecast right now for Hurricane Irma. We're timing it out. Sunday morning is when you can expect to see 140-mile-per-hour winds reaching the tip of the southern Florida coastline. It pushes further inland. Sunday evening, it's still ranking at 140 miles per hour. Finally weakens a bit by Monday morning at about 115 miles per hour. But that's between Tampa and a little bit further north into the panhandle of Florida. Atlanta, be prepared for those strong gusty winds. To 30 miles per hour winds and 30 mile per hour winds beyond that into Nashville. So it's timing it out for certain cities across Florida, starting in the Keys, Marathon, Florida. We're looking at from now into Sunday afternoon and evening, 40 mile per hour wind gusts, or if not higher. Those are tropical storm force winds. Higher and stronger wind gusts at 100 mile per hour are expected late Saturday into Sunday morning. So late tonight into tomorrow morning. Up to you out in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, thanks so much. Right now, we have a few occasional raindrops that are coming down. You might see them rolling diagonally across the screen at times, maybe top to bottom. That's a small taste of what's to come over the next several days and certainly over the next several hours. Things are only going to intensify. Already heavy rain in parts of Miami, but here in Jacksonville, right along the rollicking expanse of the St. Johns River. Coverage continues. Hurricane Irma coming up in just a few moments. We'll see you.
Crash care about can weigh on us. So lift the weight of caring by doing. Visit StateFarmsNeighborhoodofGood.com to volunteer in your community.
There's enough coffee made pumpkin spice flavor for one more cup.
Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, every time.
You know I can only do paper, right?
Oh, because the
Trade you?
Trade you?
Trade you. Trade you. Trade you. Trade you. No, thank you.
Frito-Lay multi-packs, packed full of smiles.
I love kiwis. I've always had that issue with the seeds getting under my denture. Super Polygrip Free, it creates a seal of the dentures in my mouth.
Just a few dabs is clinically proven to seal out more food particles. Try Super Polygrip Free.
Wouldn't you like to be out on the rolling sea?
Maybe. The best things in life keep going. That's why I got a Subaru too.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
It's been building up over decades. And through 35 years of severe weather, it's strengthened into trust. Trust in the Weather Channel. To us, nothing matters more. Every season, every storm, every time you watch. Trust the Weather Channel.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-300.
Son. When I went on eHarmony, I had to fill out a lot of questions about myself, so they really got to know who I was.
and what I was looking for.
eHarmony, I think, is the only dating website that could bring something to me, the exact kind of person I was looking for. Other sites seemed really shallow. There's no perfect match beyond Angela. She's the best person for me.
Maybe it's your turn. Stop waiting. Start communicating for free today.
Every season, every storm, every time you watch, trust in the
The view from high above shows the story down below. That's right, you're seeing this. This is not far from the Fort Myers area. You see this big arena which seats roughly 8,000 people, then all around it, lines of people with their belongings trying to make their way into. It's going to continue, possibly be a big rainmaker. So it's not just limited to Florida, but in many other spots. Keeping the story, though, in Florida, let's show you this new video that we have from Boynton Beach, which shows the surf really beginning to come in. That's going to really be one of the problems. That, the storm surge, the heavy rainfall, the wind damage. There's so many things that we're going to have to contend with in the coming days. One thing we're going to have to contend with are going to be the power outages. And we do have some new information. The number is, it's good and it's bad. This has dropped from what it was earlier. Still, when you think about those millions of people being affected, that is going to be 1.8 or 1.7 per each structure. So think about this, Liana. You could have roughly maybe 4 to 5 people, still millions of that power. And the problem with that, Liana, is when this is gone, when the storm lifts up and up, it's going to take a very long time to restore.
We also have the storm surge to be very concerned about. We do have watches and warnings currently in effect, flanking the entire coastline of Florida, save for parts of the Panhandle. We have storm surge watches even along the Georgia and South Carolina coastline, including a storm warning stretching from Tampa all down to Naples, Key West, Miami, West Palm Beach. And so you do need to be aware, and if you are if it is necessary for you to evacuate, you need to do so. So we are looking at the storm surge forecast of 5 to 10 feet further south, but then they have these bullseye pockets of 10 to 15 feet. And Dr. Erica Navarro, you have an amazing example of what that has the potential to look.
The Gulf Coast is particularly prone to storm surge due to the orientation of the ocean floor. It's a little bit more shallow here, and that increases that threat because that water is able to come up much higher, more quickly, and go further inland. Let's start in a place like Key West, where we're already seeing that storm surge starting to show the first signs of coming up. The water levels are near a foot higher than usual here, and we are talking the potential for 1 to 3 feet across many of the areas here in Key West, including the airport. Some of these areas could be seeing 3 to 6 feet, but again, and up a little bit north here to the Everglades, a place like Everglades City and Marco Island. These numbers are quite frankly unbelievable to be talking about, because this is a 9-foot potential storm surge that extends 25 miles from the coast. So it's not just the coastal areas here that are likely going to be underwater. We'll be seeing that threat extending up and further to the north and east from these areas. If we go up to a place like Fort Myers, the numbers are the same, potentially 6 to 9 feet, maybe even higher than that in an area like Sanibel and Bonita Springs, and up towards Tampa. We're talking the potential for 5 to 8 feet, maybe even a little bit higher in some of these areas, just looking at some of these numbers. If we go ahead and break this out for you, we can show you what it looks like in 3D, because this is a lot of water to be coming into an area. 3 feet is enough to submerge a car and potentially. We're going to have continued coverage on hurricane.
It creates a seal of the dentures in my mouth.
Just a few dabs is clinically proven to seal out more food particles. Try Super Polygrip Free.
What 2 items do you always have with you? Your phone and your wallet. Now they go even better together thanks to the Atomic Charge Wallet, the best wallet you'll ever own. And watch this, it can even charge your phone. That's right. The next time your phone starts to die at the worst possible moment, simply plug your Atomic Charge wallet into your phone, instantly doubling its life. But that's just the beginning, because this is no ordinary wallet. It has a rugged aluminum casing that can withstand drops and shocks, keeping its contents safe and undamaged. Yet it's so lightweight, it floats away with this balloon. The Atomic Charge Wallet also features an accordion design that easily holds all your cash, credit cards, pictures, license, and more. You can't read the credit card inside. But put that same card in a leather wallet and it's completely unprotected. So let's review. The Atomic Charge Wallet holds everything you own, yet it's so slim it can slip easily into a purse or pocket. Protects it from accidents, plus electronic thieves, and it can even charge your phone. Here's how to get yours.
Act now to get your Atomic Charge wallet for just $19.99. Perfect for men. And women. But wait, order now and you can get a second one absolutely free. You heard that right. There's no additional charge to ship it to you. You can get 2 of these amazing Atomic Charge wallets for one low price, just $19.99. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-646-9021 to get your buy one, get one absolutely free Atomic Charge wallet. Call now or go to AtomicChargeWallet.com. So call 1-800-646-9021.
Only in my 60s. I've got a nice long life ahead. Big plans. So when I found out Medicare doesn't pay all my medical expenses, I got a Medicare supplement insurance plan.
If you're eligible for Medicare, you may know it only by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like all standardized Medicare supplement insurance plans, it could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. Call now to request your free decision guide.
I've been with my doctor for 12 years. Now I know I'll be able to stick with them.
You'll be able to visit any doctor or hospital that accepts Medicare patients. Plus, there are no networks. And virtually no referrals needed. See why millions of people have already enrolled in the only Medicare supplement insurance plans endorsed by AARP. Don't wait. Call now.
We received an emergency call. Law and Order True Crime, the Menendez murders, premieres September 26th on NBC.
The impacts here are imminent in the state of Florida.
This is a lot of rain, a lot of wind, but what's troubled me all week was a storm surge.
This hurricane coming, I am not going to stay here.
Winds are only going to get stronger from here on out.
If a hurricane comes here and takes this town out, it's going to be a financial disaster.
Welcome back to continued coverage of Hurricane Irma. I'm meteorologist Reynolds Wolf, coming to you from rainy Jacksonville, Florida. The wind has been picking up. We're right along the St. Johns River, and it is a river of moisture. I want you to take a look at a couple things. One, the latest track that we have for you, showing it making its way to the north. Again, things the to remember is that we may see some fluctuations as we roll forward over the next several hours and certainly over the next several days, affecting millions of people. You also see the watches, the warnings. We have those decorated across the southeast for you. The possibility that we can see with the storm, not only with this hurricane are we going to have the damaging wind, not only is storm surge going to be an issue, flooding a very real possibility just from the heavy rain alone. In fact, where we happen to be in Jacksonville, there is the potential that we could have anywhere from, say, 8 to 14 inches of rainfall coming down and causing all kinds of problems and flooding in that part of the world. So many, many chapters ago in the story, that is Hurricane Irma. Now, let me also show you some new video. This is the video we were talking about. This is out of the Miami-Dade area. Skies ominous as can be, slate gray. And you've got the rain that's going to be coming down. I saw on social media a short while ago some of the water that was already beginning to lap along the shorelines in places like Key West. That's going to keep going up. Places like Key Largo. Have some kind of imprint from this massive system. And if you look back in time with what it's already done to so many of these beautiful places, so many of these beautiful islands, and what may be coming to our shores, it certainly is a terrifying prospect. We've been speaking over the last several days with governors, not only in Florida, but also in Georgia and the Carolinas, about how they've been getting ready. A lot of mayors also, and a lot of people taking this very seriously, working as hard as they can, and also the individuals, not just government officials, but moms, dads, friends, neighbors, all packing up, trying to board it the best they can, Dr. Navarro, and getting ready for what we may be dealing with in relatively short order.
Yeah, Reynolds, I think a lot of folks here are starting to buckle down and get ready for the impact. Very strong bands starting to move through the South Florida area. Take a look at all this lightning activity that's just off the coast of Miami. And down in this area, we have already seen some fairly high wind gusts earlier today out of the Miami airport. This is in the south terminal here. We measured a wind gust of 75 miles per hour. So hurricane force winds here coming. Into the area. And again, this is on the southeastern side. We are expecting the impacts on the southwest side to be devastating with this system. But if we go down to where the center of circulation is right now, there's that eye basically just and starting to move off a little bit towards the northwest. And we can see there on the northern and western side of the circulation, those stronger bands coming in on that side of the storm. So we're expecting that storm to be moving off towards warmer waters. If we just do a broad view of what the water looks like in this region, this white area, that's the satellite, so that's the cloud cover associated with Hurricane Irma. Look at these water temperatures, 91 degrees in the Florida Straits. So that is well above the threshold that we need here to sustain tropical activity. So this is a very devastating storm here with the potential to continue all that cloud cover. This red area is showing you the region of hurricane force winds. These are winds that are in excess of 75 miles per hour. Now, because this storm is so big, that area of tropical storm force winds extends well away from the center, nearly 200 miles across from the center. So that is a very broad area. But this orange area is showing you, even within that tropical storm force range, we could be seeing gusts of winds into the 70-mile-per-hour zone. So we could be seeing hurricane force gusts in that area, even if you're not near the core of the storm. So giving you an idea of what to expect with these strong winds, because this is not something you want to ride out, quote unquote. You want to in somewhere along the western coast. Exactly where that center of circulation makes landfall, we cannot say with any certainty, but it will likely be somewhere along this side here, anywhere from Naples to Fort Myers to Tampa, potentially upwards towards the Big Bend. Again, it really just depends with how long that center of circulation stays off to the west here in the Gulf of Mexico. Again, we'll keep you posted with all the changes that are coming in as we start approaching that closer in time. We have hurricane warnings up for almost the entire Florida peninsula here. This includes South Florida, Naples, Miami, all the way up to Orlando and Tampa, even including the Jacksonville area. Beyond hurricane watches up, showing you that conditions are favorable in the next 36 hours, and then tropical storm watches for the Charleston area beyond that. So everyone here is getting prepared. That is certainly good news, because again, these impacts will be life-threatening in some areas, if not very strong, with a lot of rainfall here still to come. We're talking about the potential for a foot of rain over the majority of the state of Florida. Obviously, closer to the center of circulation, we will be seeing amounts in excess of a foot of rain, potentially up to 18, maybe even 20 inches in some areas. Off towards the Big Bend and the Tampa area, we're talking about 5 to 8 inches of rain. But again, even if that doesn't sound like a lot, likely going to be very high. So that is enough to cause flash flooding. And again, that comes on very quickly. So especially if you're out on the road, that's not likely something you can outrun. So please don't be on the road this weekend if you don't need to be with this system. 3 to 5 inches of rain anticipated up here towards the northern part of Georgia, as well as Columbia and Reynolds. Out in a place like Jacksonville, again, we're talking about 8 to 12 inches of rain. We could be seeing some higher winds as well and some storm surge, but it's really that rainfall along the northeastern coast of Florida that we're expecting to be fairly high. Reynolds?
Flooding, the tree damage, it's something that so many are contending with. Hey, we're also going to be speaking with people who are also going to contend with this rough weather down in Sarasota, Florida. If we can, let's go down to Shelley Freeland Eddy. She's the mayor of Sarasota. Good mayor, are you with us?
I'm here. How are you?
Mayor, we're doing fine compared to with how other people have been dealing with the system across much of the tropics and now moving into Florida. I know, obviously, you're deeply concerned about your constituents. What's the state of preparedness right now in your fine city?
Well, we're taking this to go away and not give us problems, but we are prepared. We are asking folks that they abide by the local directions from the evacuees with regard to shelters being open and evacuations. We have a mandatory zone in place evacuation for Zone A, which is right on the water, and a voluntary for Zone B, which is next to that. Everyone else is asked to stay off the road if they don't need to go anyplace. And if they are planning to travel, of course, we're outside of that window. We're asking them to not be on the roads now if possible, but it's getting really close if people decide that they just have to leave.
Got great concerns. In terms of the aftermath, once the storm moves off and the winds die down and you're left with all kinds of problems, widespread power outages, roadways that can be blocked, what steps, what measures can you take now to help you then?
Well, first steps we're taking is, of course, asking everyone to abide by those instructions. If we have strong winds tonight and down trees. Our utilities from both the city and the county and our local representatives are on any water damage. And of course, Monday morning we'll be in place to make sure that folks who need assistance can get evacuated, getting rid of the debris, making sure that folks who need to get out of their homes get that information. And especially for our individuals that have special needs, we have shelters in place for our special needs residents as well.
Yeah, good mayor. I know you and many of the other mayors and governors that I've spoken to over the last several days, when you first run and then you raise your hand and you take the oath and you take office, you pray that days like this will never come.
Well, we are a great place. We're a place of community and a place of teamwork, and we have all of the infrastructure and our systems in place to make sure that residents are as safe as possible. We would ask that folks just abide by those instructions. We're hoping that everyone will be hunkered down and be in for the night by 5 or 6 o'clock this evening, so that if the winds start to come in and the water starts to come in, and we're just letting them know that we've taken precautions, we're prepared, and we're going to make sure that we do the best that we can and follow the local directions. And so we'll just continue to keep people updated by social media, through Facebook and text message. If power goes out, of course, we're hopeful that we'll still have phone access, and text messaging and Facebook has been a very good tool for us, especially in the city of Sarasota, to carry messages with directions and instructions. So we'll continue to do that.
Good, Mayor. Thanks so much for your time. Hearing what she said, America, about phone calls streaming in, people just trying to figure out how everyone happens to be. It's truly a regional. It's a regional problem, but
especially even with the orange crop. But we have a quick recap of what we know right now on Hurricane Irma. Mandatory evacuation orders are out for more than 6 million people across Florida, the largest evacuation in the state's history. We are now expecting major hurricane force winds over Key West by daybreak Sunday morning. Delta Airlines added 17 flights leaving Florida today, a total of about 2,000 extra seats. They will operate of this year's crop and up to 20% of the state's citrus trees due to Irma. So let's go ahead and talk about the impacts and time out the chances for you to see the threat for tropical storm winds. This is the time to be ready. Right now, we're the first time that you're going to be seeing these winds will be Saturday, 8 p.m. That's tonight at 8 p.m. If you're anywhere, Naples. Overnight into Sunday into Monday 8 a.m. and then beyond that it's going to be after in the midday Monday period to Monday night. We're taking a look at select cities. Right now we're looking at Miami. The timing for you is now through late Sunday, where you're going to start seeing those tropical storm force winds. Those are winds with 40+ mile-per-hour wind gusts. Sunday will be the peak. That's when you can expect 75+ mile-per-hour wind gusts, rainfall up to a foot and up to 6 feet in storm surge. And the rain total forecast across the southern half of the state, we're looking at lots and lots of rain, a foot to a foot and a half possible in the hot pink shades. In the red areas, including the cities of Miami, another city, West Palm Beach, we're looking at 40+ mile-per-hour wind gusts being felt Saturday night, late tonight into Monday morning. The peak will be on Sunday. That's when you can expect those 75 mile-per-hour winds to pick up. You can expect 5 to 8 inches of fresh water rainfall and then up to 4 feet of storm surge across the area. Now, Jacksonville, Florida, this is the timing. This is where our own Reynolds Wolf is at right now. Sunday night into Monday morning, and Monday night, I should say, is when you can expect that 40 mile-per-hour wind gust. Monday morning, though, that's when you can expect the peak. That's 75+ mile-per-hour winds expected. expected, almost a foot to a foot and a half of rainfall expected, and that storm surge up to 8 to 10 inches in that orange area, including the city of Valdosta. Another city that we're watching as we work our way up the coastline, Savannah, Georgia. Monday, that's when you can expect those tropical storm force winds to kick in. The peak will be Monday night. That's when you can expect 60-mile-per-hour winds, if not higher. 5 to 8 inches of rain and up to 6 feet of storm surge. So let's go ahead and send it back out to Jacksonville, Florida with Reynolds.
We're seeing just those beautiful coral reefs just getting bashed. Again, the islands just getting crushed by the heavy wind that's starting to come in, the heavy rainfall, the surge. Wow. Again, skies, the atmosphere just been transformed by this tremendous system which continues to roar its way. Again, we've shown you the path, that cone of uncertainty, the cone of probability. It's going to continue to move on through, but first, one of the first places it's going to be felt is extreme South Florida, rolling from south to north. Rough times, no doubt about it. My goodness, folks. Well, where we happen to be, things are okay in terms of the wind. It's kind of intermittent, so to speak. Experience in spots like Miami, into Naples, perhaps into Tampa, places like Punta Gorda. This is not unheard of when it comes to tropical systems hitting Florida. We go back to 1935 and the Labor Day hurricane that killed some 400 people in the Keys. Think about that. You had wind gusts that were so strong, so damaging. You had train cars that were actually knocked completely off the tracks. Just terrifying. Survivors tell stories of wind and water being so strong it ripped the clothes off their bodies. Goodness, what a terrifying thing, no doubt about it. That you'll see things that are actually not of the norm. You see a white boat, you see a blue boat. The blue boat is actually a shrimp boat. That shrimp boat normally would not be here. The reason why it's in, it's seeking safer harbor. Now, if we can make our way a little bit down river, you'll also notice near the football stadium a series, it looks like an entire fleet of shrimp boats. Same thing, they're seeking safe harbor here. And the would now still have some tumbling waters of the St. Johns River. This river flows some 310 miles, flows northward. And coming northward from south to north is going to be that system, Irma, which has left a path of devastation. People that have been coming by here actually live in a building just off to our distance. They were saying the water certainly come up. If you look right down here, Matt Stanton is the man right behind the camera. Matt, if you can't show him right off in the distance, you'll see the water, how it's starting to come up. And every now and again, you'll have one heavier wave that'll come up and just top that. We do expect that the winds are going to increase, obviously, in days to come, so water may well go over some of that those structures through. That comes up, and again, you've got these boats that are coming in here to what will be, comparatively speaking, much more gentle water than what we've had in many other spots of the tropics and certainly into South Florida. Well, I can tell you, one of the big stories that we're going to have is not what's going to happen just now, what's going to happen in days to come, but what's going to happen days after. Think about it. Cars that are moving on that bridge off there in the distance and moving downtown right now may be a very different story in days to come. Tree damage is going to be an issue. Things like these trees you see behind me, they may fare okay, but some of the oak trees may have a much taller task of holding up to the strong winds that are sure to roll through here. Some of these light posts, they're going to be going down too. It could happen. Some of the larger signs you see off way in the distance, those could be pummeled also by those punishing winds. Think about it too, guys. It's not going to be just the gusts. We're talking sustained winds, upwards of 60, 70, times 80 miles an hour, even stronger for the Keys and into Miami. Going to have widespread damage there. And another thing to consider when you think about Florida is the population has just exploded. Back in, let's see, in 1990, the population, even Miami-Dade, was around 1.9 million. Now, as of 2016, 2.7 million. Guys, we have a long way to go in this story. You're at the right place watching the Weather Channel. Coverage continues on Hurricane Irma after this.
Ground-in dust and dirt doesn't wait for the big weekly clean. So grab the only cord-free vacuum with a Dyson Digital Motor V8 that has powerful suction to clean deep. And up to 40 minutes runtime to clean anywhere, anytime, by anyone.
Quaker breakfast flats are crafted with these delicious ingredients and more, and baked with our wholesome Quaker oats to help keep you going. Help satisfy your morning hunger with every single bite. Quaker breakfast flats.
As her experts breaking down the science behind the system, tracking every possible path.
Follow the Weather Channel. They're tracking exactly where the storm's going to be.
Whether we're getting you through it or taking you to it, trust in the Weather Channel.
Motorcycle insurance with Geico. Going up the country. Later, Gary.
I have a motorcycle.
Wonderful.
Geico Motorcycle. Great rates for great rides.
As a working mom, I'm thankful my mom is able to help out. So I bought her the all-new Jitterbug Flip from Great Call. It's so easy to use, and with a larger screen and bigger buttons, it's even easier to dial. There's also a 5-star button on the keypad.
One touch and you'll be immediately connected.
Welcome to Smarter Investing. At Betterment, we've created automated investing to help people make better financial decisions and reach their goals. We help you manage your money, stay on track for retirement, and seek the returns you deserve. Go to betterment.com/invest and get up to 1 year managed free.
I enjoy the fresher things in life. Fresh towels, fresh soaps, and of course, TripAdvisor's freshest, lowest prices. So, if you're on the hotel you want, go on, try something fresh. TripAdvisor, the latest reviews, the lowest prices.
Oh, you brought Butch.
Yeah.
He's looking at me right now, isn't he?
Yep.
Butch is like an old soul that just hates my guts.
You can never have too many faithful companions.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-300-7112 or go to mesobook.com.
Sold for $1.66 at about 98% off on DealDash.com.
Deal Dash is the most exciting way to score brand name, brand new products at prices you won't believe. Professional stand mixers for under $6 and pressure cookers up to 85% off. Touchscreen laptops for less than $16 and HD TVs for 80% off or more. So stop paying retail. Go to dealdash.com right now.
As Hurricane Irma approaches, there is one place to turn to and to trust. Trust in the Weather Channel.
We thought we could stay at the house. We live very close. But after they said that it was going to be worse than Andrew, we went through Andrew, we decided to come and be safe here.
So many people trying to get to a safe spot, and thankfully there are plenty of shelters around. A lot of people have been using them, which is a wonderful thing to see. It's the cause that they have to go to the shelter in the first place that is so terrifying. Watching this massive system, this massive hurricane, still such a force, and a wrecking ball at that. It's already caused so much destruction, now rolling closer to the United States. We've already had the effects of it, Dr. Navarro, in parts of Miami. We've had the rain that's starting to come in. The Keys, certainly, the wave action starting to pile up. Just a small sliver of what's to come over the next several hours and days. Let's send back into the studio to Dr. Erica Navarro.
Yeah, thank you, Reynolds. We're keeping a very close eye here on the radar and the satellite imagery because that center of circulation is making its exit off the coast of Cuba and is anticipated to start moving northward throughout the day today. Taking a look right now at the wind gusts in the region, you can see here over in Key West, we're seeing tropical storm force wind here with gusts into the 45-mile-per-hour range. Still here along the northern coast of Cuba, we're looking at winds in the 40-mile-per-hour range as well. And we've seen wind gusts well in excess of that today along the coast of Cuba with sustained winds of 70 miles per hour in some areas and even wind gusts into the 150-mile-per-hour range. So still a very strong hurricane here. It is currently at Category 3 intensity, but we are likely to see that change moving forward in future given the conditions that Irma is forecast to move into over the coming days. Taking a look right now at the visible satellite imagery, this is actually Hurricane Jose off to the east. This is behind Irma. So we have not one, but two major hurricanes right now in the Atlantic Basin. And this system has been showing some impressive imagery here on the satellites because it has a well-defined center. And you can see it there moving off just to the north and west of the Leeward Island, which is certainly good news given the conditions that they were facing there in the wake. Of Hurricane Irma. But taking a look now at the enhanced satellite of Hurricane Irma, there's that center of circulation still hugging the outer islands there on the northern surfaces. Remember, hurricanes need the exposure to the ocean surface to fuel them and give them their strength. That land surface often weakens the system, but we are likely through with that case now because that storm is moving away from land back into the favorable conditions. That center of circulation is moving just to the north of the forecast track here. So this is where we are expecting it to go. And it looks like it's just moving a little bit to the north and east of that. We'll see how that continues. But again, keeping a close eye on that because we are still anticipating this storm to come up the western side of the state of Florida. If you look at this cone here, this is showing you where it's anticipated to go in the near term. So we are expecting here interaction with the Florida Keys within the next 24 hours, likely by tomorrow morning, Sunday in the morning, as a Category 4 hurricane, winds here of 140 miles per hour. After that, Irma is going to be taking a track here that basically parallels the western side of Florida. Just how far it comes inland or how far it stays off the coast, we still cannot tell with any certainty the exact track that is going to take, but it is likely to be coming up the western side of Florida and making landfall somewhere between the Everglades and the Tampa area in the coming days. And then after that, it will be moving off to northern Florida and eventually into the southern part of Georgia. So the impacts here will be felt over a very large area. The entire state of Florida is in the 8 to 12 inch rain for the most part here, the central part and the eastern part up to a foot of rain possible in places like Orlando, Jacksonville here. Places like Tampa could be expecting 5 to 8 inches of rain. And again, that is in addition to the other threats like the storm surge and the very large waves. Up through the southeast, we are looking at a potential for 3 to 5 inches of rain throughout much of Georgia, including much of South Carolina, places like Columbia and Charleston. But this is enough to cause flash flooding in a lot of these regions because these are going to be tropical downpours with very high rainfall rates. So we're likely to be seeing a lot of rainfall coming down at once in a lot of these regions. But really, the biggest impact and the biggest threat with this system is going to be the storm surge. That is the greatest threat moving forward in time. From a place like Fort Myers, Naples, down to the Everglades here, a 10 to 15-foot storm surge is a life-threatening situation here for many of these areas. North of Fort Myers on the way to Tampa here, staying along the western side of Florida, 6 to 10 feet of storm surge. Again, that is enough to cover some homes in some areas, depending on how and when and where that water comes in. But this is going to be extending well away from the coast as well. It's not just going to be right along the ocean that we're going to be seeing that. Tampa, we're still looking at 5 to 8 feet for
filling up with clouds for the time being. Farther to the south, we're dealing with this monster. Major hurricane on the surf is beginning to pile up south, affecting millions of people. Let's show you again, if we can, very quickly, just the path of where we anticipate it will be headed. And right now, we also show, ladies and gentlemen, also Alabama, parts of Georgia, into the Carolinas, maybe even Tennessee, maybe even Kentucky before all this over is said and done. Even when this dies down in terms of wind speed, could still be a major rainmaker in affecting so many people. The ramifications that we could be dealing with after this involve also a lot of wreckage on roadways, power problem that will be affecting so many people. No doubt about it. Now, earlier we heard from Miami's mayor a short while ago. Here's what he had to say.
I'm happy when I see no people, and I see, walking on the streets, there's really no people on the street. That's the most important thing, that our message has gotten out there, that everyone needs to evacuate. Whether you're a visitor or you're a resident, you shouldn't be in Miami Beach right now. This storm is powerful, it's strong, it's aggressive, and it's coming our way.
We're going to keep the story in Miami. In fact, we're going to go right back down there to Mike Seidel. Mike, the mayor described the town like a ghost town, that it is relatively empty. You see basically the same thing?
Yeah, the wind definitely ramping up now. We're right out on the cut here, and behind me is the port of Miami, and those high rises in the distance. That's Miami Beach, South Beach. We were over there earlier and took a pretty good squall. This whole area is under a mandatory evacuation, so I would suspect that just about everybody in these high rises, this is Brickell Key right on Brickell Boulevard. I would assume and hope that just about everybody, if not everybody, is out of these high rises. The concern here is the glass on the windows and the sliding glass doors. And there's a little bridge to Brickell Key. But look at the whitecaps and the waves rolling up through here, right up into downtown Miami. And we're just on the fringe of the storm. Something else I want you to notice on the radar right now, look at what's coming at us. We have some of these outer squalls. Now, we had one this morning, and Miami International gusted to 49 miles an hour about 7:30 this morning. So as the squalls get closer, as we get closer to the hurricane tonight and tomorrow, although the worst will be over on the western side of Florida, the west coast, we're going to see hurricane-force wind gusts, and that is going to cause damage. I mean, this morning, just with those gusts, we have palm fronds blowing down everywhere here and over on Collins Avenue in South Beach. I can feel the wind at my back increasing. That's because that band of squalls is coming at us from the Atlantic. It'll cross the barrier island, Miami Beach, and then come right into downtown Miami. And we're going to be here throughout until this evening and checking back with you as these squalls hit us. And you're getting a sense of how strong the winds are and how the wind ramps up as these tropical squalls hit us. And again, this is just the fringe effects of Hurricane Irma. Everybody's hunkered down. Again, they mandatory evacuation for 680,000 residents in Zone A, B, part of C, and all the residents of mobile homes. They wanted them to get to safety because of the wind threat. Even if you're inland, you have a wind threat. So if you're home, stay safe. Stay away from the windows, hunker down, and we'll all get through this hopefully very, very safely. But again, Reynolds, we've got a long way to go, another 18 or so hours. The one thing that will change mid-afternoon tomorrow, as the storm gets north of our latitude, later tomorrow, the wind's going to go in this direction. So any surge issues, this will be underwater. That's going to be blown off. That's going to blow the water offshore. Reynolds?
All right, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, the story we're going to be seeing in Miami is get one convoy after another of power trucks making their way into this area. Not fixing power, mind you, but just getting in staging position so that when the power will inevitably go out, and the forecast looks like it could be in the millions in terms of people without power for days and days, those guys are going to have a lot of work ahead of them, no doubt about it. Okay, let's go back into the studio. I believe we're sending it to Dr. Navarro. Erica, you with me?
I am, Reynolds. Yes, I'll take it from here.
Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing some increase in the wind gusts down in Marathon, Florida. This is along the Florida Keys. If we take a look at the radar, we're seeing wind gusts registered of up to 60 miles per hour now in this area. And these yellow colors are showing you that's the outer bands there. The center of circulation is still absolutely starting to pick up here. We're seeing tropical storm force winds in the region. Up north, even to the north and east of Miami, we're seeing some stronger, very far out outer bands here with a lot of lightning associated with that. Up north of the Palm Beach area, we're also seeing some things move in there as well. But we're having some influence of a stalled boundary also in that region, so that's likely also helping to exacerbate the conditions over there. We still have a NOAA P3 plane out right now that's investigating the wind field associated with Irma. Earlier today, they measured 930 millibars nearly in the center of circulation, so showing you that this storm is still very intense and likely has finished weakening for the time being. Again, we saw that weakening with its inner interaction with the land surfaces near Cuba. But we'll be watching this closely to see if we see any winds here getting up into the Category 3 range, as again, that plane is now making another approach near the center of that storm. So we'll keep a close eye on that as well. But if we go to the visible satellite, this is showing you the wind field and the clouds associated with Irma, and this storm is just huge. Looking at this, this is nearly 400 miles across here, and if we just showing you how big the system is getting, and it likely is going to be elongating and stretching out because of this influence here with a front in that area. We've got that upper level jet stream which might be pulling things apart and help the eyes of Cuba and Florida, and it's wider than the Florida Peninsula in some of these areas. So again, just a big system here that we are dealing with. All right, we can take a look at what the models are forecasting as far as the wind field. The red colors here are showing you hurricane force winds associated with Hurricane Irma. There's that center of circulation right now, forecast to make its way off of Cuba and head off to the northwest here and approach the Florida Keys sometime this evening and heading into the early hours of tomorrow morning. This is going to bring storm surge threat here for the Keys, as well as some very strong winds here up into the Florida Keys and potentially some areas in southern southern Florida. But after that, that's when things are really going to start getting broad and impacting here for a lot of places in Florida, because wherever that center of circulation comes on shore, we're going to have impacts both. So we're going to have storm surge on both sides of the Florida Peninsula, and then impacts here up into the coastal areas of Georgia and South Carolina as well. So the impacts here, again, are going to be broad and felt over a broad area. In a place like Atlanta, moving into the Tuesday timeframe, we are talking about the potential for 3 to 5 inches of rain, as well as some gusty winds. So everyone here along the south needs to be prepared for some tropical impacts, because Hurricane Irma is a very strong storm, and it's likely going to take a while for this storm to really lose its momentum even after it comes on shore. So again, here's a look at the storm surge forecast here for you. 10 to 15 feet forecasted in a place like Fort Myers and Naples along the western coast of Florida. An area like Tampa Bay, we're talking about the potential for 5 to 8 feet. But then over in Miami, we're still anticipating a storm surge of nearly 4 to 6 feet, even along the eastern side of this state. So again, don't let your guard down, even if the center of circulation doesn't come directly over your area, because these impacts are going to be felt far away from the center and well outside of the cone. So all you folks in these areas need to be paying attention for what's to come with Hurricane Irma. All right, Reynolds, let's take it back out to Jacksonville. Again, we're not anticipating the worst of the winds to come through that area, but we're still talking about the threat for some very heavy rain.
Oh, no question about it. You know, it's interesting, Doctor, hearing you talk about the momentum, how that's such a big feature with these systems. It's almost like you take a boiling pot of water, okay, and it's on a gas burner, and it's boiling. It's taking a while for it to settle down. We're going to go down back to Miami. That's where we find Mike Seidel. Mike, a veteran of so many of these systems. Mike, I'm sure you've lost count of how many you've dealt with. Miami, a city that has certainly had a past with tropical systems, hoping that they're truly prepared for what is about to unleash over the next several hours and days.
They are, and look at what's hitting us right now. We talked about this just a few minutes ago. Here comes one of those tropical squalls. Look how the visibility is dropping behind me. Look at this. We can't even see Miami Beach or Port Miami anymore. The visibility now down to about a mile or so. And this is that tropical rain coming in. By the way, we've already had an inch of rain, and we're going to have locally as much as a foot or maybe more before this moves out tomorrow night and the sun comes back out on Monday. So now we're getting Lauderdale and those areas to our north. But let me get back out in the rain so you can get a sense of how hard it's raining and blowing out here. We're probably gusting about 35 miles an hour. And I hear a jet going over. I guess maybe there's still a flight or two going in and out of Miami International. No, you know what that is? That's not a jet. That's this wind whistling through these buildings. Look at the rain now. Look at the squall. And the rain blowing off the whitecaps here in the cut here between Brickell Key and the mainland and the Port Miami. Let me put the mic up here. Let me see if you can hear this whistle. I don't know if you can hear that, but here we go. Now we're getting into the meat of this squall. It is really raining hard. You can probably hear it pounding at my back, stinging like an Amarillo sleet storm here. Again, we're in downtown Miami, right off Brickell, the Brickell area. And boy, this wind is howling right now. And this is just one of these outer bands. Just imagine what it's going to be like after midnight tonight and tomorrow, not only here, but especially on the West Coast, where more than likely many of you are going to take the eye wall or some portion of it. Try to turn around. I think it's time to put on the glasses out. Here, but so the wind just stays up in these squalls, sustained now about 25 or 30, but we're gusting over tropical storm force. We're just pounding out here, and we already saw some street flooding earlier. partially due to the king tides and also the water backing up. But if it floods underground, that can take care of the power too. So there's no guarantee just because all the power here in Brickell and downtown Miami is underground in the financial district and these hotels and condos. That doesn't necessarily mean the power will not go out, because Florida Power Light expects that about half their customers are going to lose power. Well, let me walk out here a little bit and give you an idea. Just keep a shot on the water there. And see the wind whipping the palm trees out here. Again, what we're doing, we're looking east towards Port Miami. Miami Beach in the distance. We could see that a few minutes ago. Now it's all gone. Now it seems that the wind has backed off a little bit, but look at the white caps coming in. And remember, we're in the surge zone. We're expecting the surge here to top out as high as 10 feet. Bottom line is, we will not be here after this evening. This is going to be underwater, too dangerous, and we will be in higher grade when we come back on at first light tomorrow morning here in Miami. And of course, staying safe. If it's too dangerous, we will not leave the hotel, and we will broadcast from our hotel and look outdoors. Let's go back to Reynolds. Reynolds, back to you up in Jacksonville, where I assume you're staying fairly dry right now.
Back to me. Oh. Stand by. Well, I'll tell you, we are sitting by right now. We're actually still watching some of these clouds, which continue. Our northeast, and obviously to our south, we've got Irma, and the two of those working together, kind of a flywheel, so to speak, that have been bringing in the rain and bringing the bands of showers. The water, we've been told by a lot of the locals that have been coming by here, has gone up quite a bit over the last day or so. You'll notice right down here by right below the bridge itself, the main days. Rain is going to be a huge part of the story, very similar to what we've seen with long landfalling tropical systems. Flooding can happen. It looks like it could really be an issue here with the potential of anywhere from, say, 8 to perhaps even as high as 14 inches of rainfall. Flooding not a possibility, but a certainty. One of many things we're dealing with in the days to come. You're right here watching the Weather Channel. Those are our friends watching local now. We thank you. Coverage continues after this.
Andrew, Rita, Sandy. When you need us most, we're here to help. State Farm. We're a force of nature, too.
There's enough coffee-made pumpkin spice flavor for one more cup.
Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, every time.
You know I can only do paper, right?
Oh, because
Coffee-made seasonal flavors are here.
It's like a mitt with no fingers.
Patients that I see that complain about dry mouth, they feel like they have to drink a lot of water. Medications seem to be the #1 cause for dry mouth. I like to recommend Biotine.
Hey, Grandpa. Hey, kid. Really good to see you. You too. You tell Grandma you were going fishing again? Maybe.
The best things in life keep going. That's why I got a Subaru too.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
It's been building up over decades. And through 35 years of severe weather, it's strengthened into trust.
The following message is brought to you by mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-300-7112 or go to mesobook.com.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71.
Everything must go.
And shipping is always free.
Visit DealDash.com and start bidding today.
Every season, every storm, every time you watch, trust in the Weather Channel.
Good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel, and it is crunch time here in Florida as we watch Hurricane Irma. I don't know where exactly it's going to make landfall, but it's going to be so close that those beautiful beach communities like Marco Island, Naples, Fort Myers, Bradenton, Sarasota, Siesta Key, and the Tampa Bay area, all under hurricane warnings, and all could take really the worst that Irma has to offer for the continental United States. We don't expect the winds to be as strong as they were in Barbuda and St. Martin at 180, 185 miles an hour, but we do expect, obviously, a catastrophic, very dangerous Category 4 hurricane to rake the West Coast on Sunday and Sunday night. So this is the time. If you haven't nailed down stuff, if you haven't fully prepared, prepare now. And again, if you're out of a surge zone, there's no need to drive to Atlanta. Stay safe. Just make sure you're hunkered down and you're protected. Stay away from the windows. And through here in Miami, we're in the Brickell section, and you can see the wind whipping the palm trees, fronds coming down, albeit the fact that palm fronds don't need more than about a 40-mile-an-hour gust to come down. But you can see some of the street flooding there as we look out towards the water. And part of that's because of the higher-than-average tides, the king tides, and also the heavy rain we had this morning. Now we'll take you across the causeway, the Rickenbacker to Miami Beach, and a lot of palm fronds coming down. This was a squall that hit South Beach there. We were there about right around 1 o'clock this afternoon, so that's the timing on that squall. Still a lot of people out there going out to the beach, a lot of people looking at the surf and trying to, get a piece of Irma before it's just way, way too dangerous to go out there. Check the radar now. If you were watching a few minutes ago, we just had a squall nail us here on the water. This is the Miami Cut. We're looking across now. That buoy marker's the first one here in the foreground. So we were down to about a half a mile in rain and blowing rain. No lightning or thunder, but certainly quite a hit here. And look at the wave. Action. Look at the whitecaps. And remember, we're protected by the barrier island, Collins Avenue, Miami Beach. Just imagine what it's going to be like tonight and tomorrow as we take that surge in here of up to 6 feet. So we would assume and we hope that just about everybody in these high rises have evacuated. The concern here, no, the buildings are not going to blow down. They're really built to sustain at least 135-mile-an-hour winds. The concern is blowing glass. Like, look over there. This condo right here, Chris Erickson panning over there. Look at that kind of oval. That is facing off to the east and northeast. So these windows over here, about 10 or 12 stories all up, could just blow in. So that's the real threat here. And we had some condo owners that are staying at our hotel. They live right across the street, but the main reason they came across the street to stay at our hotel is because of the fear of breaking glass. Now, some of the units, they've turned off the water so they don't have any damage to their HVAC systems. They'll likely get that back on late tomorrow night or Monday, but they just want to protect that. But as we know, Florida Power and Light's going to do the best to keep this power on, but they're not going to turn it off. The only way the power is going to go off is from the force of the wind and the impacts, the direct impacts from Irma. Again, on the radar, look at this. One squall now has moved through, now from Miami south down towards Homestead. Another vicious-looking line of rain and gusty winds up in Broward. This is a dangerous and powerful hurricane expected to re-intensify. We're here for you around the clock. We've got all the coverage you need. We've got crews lined up on the West Coast for this evening and tomorrow. Stay with the Weather Channel.
I love you, a book land effect. You bet your birdie neck I do.
While other insurance companies just see a house, we see the home you've worked really hard.
Power outages are a part of life now. That can be stressful because we depend on power more than ever. When the power goes out, we lose everything. We can't even charge our smartphones. Now more than ever, you need a Generac automatic home standby generator. With Generac, power stays on in your house, even if you're not at home. Generac's automatic home standby generators start at just $19.49. Special financing is available with affordable monthly payments. Plus, with the Generac mobile link, you can check on your generator anytime. Call or go online to schedule your free in-home assessment. And if you act right now, you'll receive our 7-year extended limited warranty, a $695 value, absolutely free. Control your power and control your life with a Generac.
I looked at my options. Then, I got a Medicare supplement insurance plan.
If you're eligible for Medicare, you may know it only covers about 80% of your Part B medical expenses. The rest is up to you. Call now and find out about an AARP Medicare supplement insurance plan insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like all standardized Medicare supplement insurance plans, it helps pick up some of what Medicare doesn't pay and could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs.
To me, relationships matter. I've been with my doctor for 12 years. Now I know I'll be able to stick with them.
So don't wait. Call now and request this free decision guide to help you better understand Medicare and which AARP Medicare supplement plan might be best for you. There's a wide range to choose from.
We love to travel, and there's so much more to see. So we found a plan that can travel with us anywhere in the country.
Join the millions of people who have already enrolled in the only Medicare supplement insurance plans endorsed by AARP, an organization serving the needs of people 50 and over for generations. Get medical costs. Call now to request your free decision guide and learn more about the kinds of plans that will be here for you now and down the road.
I have a lifetime of experience, so I know how important that is.
It's been building up over decades. And through 35 years of severe weather, it's strengthened into trust. Trust in the Weather Channel. To us, nothing matters. every season, every storm, every time you watch. Trust the Weather Channel.
And welcome back to continued coverage of Hurricane Irma. I am meteorologist Reynolds Wolf coming to you from beautiful, beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. Right now, if you look over in this direction, we have the St. Johns River, which continues to flow to the north. The sky is filling up with clouds. The rain has been coming down. The wind has been a constant, but at times it has been beginning to perk up a bit more, maybe the 20, 30 miles an hour at times. Much worse conditions down in Miami. We're going to go to Mike Seidel shortly, but right now I want to show you site they will be in days and in weeks to come. Power outages are going to be a tremendous part of the story that we're going to deal with for millions of people across parts of not only Florida, but Georgia, maybe into the Carolinas, perhaps even into Alabama, due to the strong system that even when it makes its way on shore, a dying animal that still carries quite a bite. With it, the heavy rainfall, the flooding that's all but a certainty, the wind damage, which is going to cause all kinds of problems, not only knocking out power, but blocking roadways to prevent people from getting aid to those who desperately need it, from getting supplies from one part of the map to the other. Certainly difficult times for the time being. One bit of a roadway that we have, that being a watery one is what we have right to my left. That, of course, is the St. Johns River. Now, across the river, we see a few items that are not the norm for this time of year. Well, you see a couple of shrimp boats off there in the distance. One dons the name Perseverance. They're only going to get rougher as time goes on. We are going to boat our way back down to Miami. That's where we find Mike Seidel. Mike, conditions getting worse, no question, in your part of the world.
Hey, Reynolds, yeah, we've gotten a break from the squall. That was a pretty decent squall that came through here about 20 minutes ago or so. We got hit pretty hard, but now that's backed off. We just have some light rain. We're out here on the cut looking across. This is Brickell Key, and that's the road, the little causeway to Brickell Key. In the distance, that's the Rickenbacker Causeway to Virginia Key, and then over to South Beach and Miami. Wave heights are running several feet out here in the cut. We've got some white caps out here. Rainfall is light right now. In fact, we can kind of gauge the rainfall intensity by our visibility. Notice the high rise. They've all poured out. There were no cruise ships. There this morning. As we go through this afternoon and this evening, what we're going to see, more of these squalls coming at us, and as the hurricane gets closer on Sunday, because remember, it's still moving west-northwest at 9, so physically it's not really getting any closer. But once it makes that turn, and the wind field's actually going to expand, that tropical storm force wind field, which right now is averaging about 180 miles, is going to expand in all directions. So we're going to have very strong winds tomorrow, as we think right now it's going to track along or just off the coast to the center of Hurricane Irma. The eye wall will likely impact many of you. We don't know exactly where it's going to make landfall because it's going to be right off the coast. It's not coming in at a right angle. And so at that point, we'll have a better idea of where the highest surge is going to be. But hurricane warnings are flying now all the way up the west coast to Appalachia Bay and up the east coast past Jacksonville to, that includes Fernandina Beach, right up to the Georgia Largo. And remember, once it goes north of that latitude, that wind's going to come around from the south and southwest. That is going to pile the water right up against Almorada, Marathon, Key Largo, the upper Keys, because remember, the Keys go from the northeast to the southwest. That wind's just going to pile that water up, and there's going to be a tremendous surge there in the upper and middle Keys, in addition to winds that are going to howl in excess of 100 miles an hour. Back here in Miami, there is some sigh of relief because of the track shifting west. That doesn't mean we're out of the woods. We are out of the cone, but we're still going to get a pretty good storm here with hurricane force wind gusts, power outages, storm surge, and there will probably be some inland flooding. We've got crews up and down the West Coast, Fort Myers, Naples, Bradenton, Tampa. We've also got into the first of the week with some of the best in the business and coverage up and down both coasts, including the East Coast. Let's go back north to Jacksonville Beach and Reynolds Wolf.
Okay, Mike, thanks so much for that report. Guys, what we have now is some rain that's beginning to come down. The wind, as we mentioned earlier, kind of intermittent at the time being. Skies gray, and they're only going to get grayer as we roll forward over the next couple of days.